Uh, Will now come to order. This is the work session for the legislative session of November 3rd, 2025. And I know at least two of our colleagues are on their way in, but we'll get started. First up, we have a reappointment to the Planning Board. This is actually my planning board member, Mr. Peter Array. There's Peter. Mr. Array, how are you? I thought you might be online. I didn't see you back there. You were hiding. So Peter is been on the planning board for a couple years, but you just hit the green button there, Peter. And he is, I think this is your third appointment, correct?
Actually, it's my first.
Your first?
Yes, by you. The first appointment was by Councilwoman Bivens, and I came in to complete the term of someone that stepped down. This is actually my reappointment by you.
Yes, sir. So, Peter, did you want to tell my colleagues a little bit about you? Because I know all about you.
Well, my name is Peter Array, and I am a retired state government employee. I did 31 years with Maryland State Government Transportation. In fact, I even worked with Councilman David Marks for 4 years at Transportation, and I was the Chief of Technology Contracting and Telecom for the Transportation Department, and I retired 9 years ago, and I love to serve the public and the community. I am a community leader in Rosedale and in my church, and so when this opportunity came, and I was very happy to serve the public. I love Baltimore County. It's a great county. So that is, thank you to Mr. Chair there for reappointing me.
Okay. Any questions for Peter? Peter, we appreciate you coming in today, and we look forward to your reappointment on the board. And thank you, sir. That was easy.
Thank you very much.
We don't have an easy button up there.
This is the easiest interview I've had. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And then we also have another reappointment to the planning board. This is Councilman Patoka's planning board person, Mr. Mark Heckman, and Mark's already on the way to the box. Good evening, Mr. Heckman. How are you? Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Mark Heckman. I am a practicing architect and have been for the last 40 years. I specialize in the design of senior living communities. And all throughout my career, I have always been involved in boards of nonprofits. I've been always involved in other things besides my profession in helping out my community. So I see this just as an extension of doing my work.
Good. Councilman Patoka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm proud to nominate Mr. Heckman as my planning board representative. Mr. Heckman is an outstanding architect, well known in his field. I've known Mr. Heckman for quite some time, and just to let you know how civic-minded Mr. Heckman is, when I worked in the mayor's office, we're trying to build a police memorial at Argonne Drive to honor fallen officers. And we had a limited budget, and Mr. Firm's architectural firm had a design competition with all of their architects, and this was all done pro bono, to figure out what the best design is. And so they came up with these 9 granite pillars, and they were like slabs, and then a replica of each fallen officer's shield was encased in an acrylic structure, and it had a beam of light that shot through the granite structure, through the acrylic, clear acrylic, and through the shield at night. Really fabulous, really outstanding work for the firm Mr. Heckman was with at the time, and I think it speaks to his character, speaks to the person he is. So I'm really proud, Mr. Chair, to nominate Mr. Heckman. To be and also, I will say this, one other thing is Mr. Heckman is not afraid to make a decision even if not everybody in that room is going to be happy. And so we do need people that are fearless in terms of following their beliefs rather than following the push of very loud people. Thank you, Mr. Heckman.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you being in tonight. We look forward to your appointment.
Thank you.
Reappointment. Okay. I know next up we have appointments to the Advisory Committee on Public School Capacity. I have my appointee, his name is Mark Clem. He was unable to be here today, but he will be here with us at the legislative session. And Councilman Marks also has his nominee here. I believe she's here, Charlene.
She couldn't make it.
Okay, so she will probably be at the legislative session as well.
Okay. I can speak to her qualifications.
Okay, did you want to?
Yes, please. Yeah, so it's my honor to recommend Charlene Benke for the Advisory Committee on Public School Capacity. Charlene has been a longtime educator with Baltimore County Public Schools. She's now retired. She previously taught at Sussex, Victory Villa, Hawthorne, and Rogers Forge Elementary Schools. She was principal at Seneca, Vincent Farm, and Honeygo Elementary Schools, and worked briefly at the Office of Staffing for Baltimore County Public Schools.
Wow. Well qualified. Thank you, Councilman Marks. All right, so next up, we have Mr. Lawrence Richardson, Deputy Director of Health and Human Services, about, this is Resolution 5325. It's a donation of funds for the Bureau of Animal Services. How are you, Mr. Richardson?
Good afternoon, Chairman Ortel, members of the council. I have a resolution for the acceptance of a donation in the amount of $8,021 from the estate of Mary Fredlud. Ms. Fredlud bequeathed the funds to Baltimore County Bureau of Animal Services. The funds will be used to support the purchase of supplies for materials for the animals in care at the shelter. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the members? Okay, thank you, Mr. Richardson. We appreciate you being here. Okay, next up we have Mr. Chris Martin, Director of OIT, a purchase order for daily computers, audio-visual equipment upgrade in the fire department headquarters. How are you, Mr. Martin? Good.
Good evening, and thank you, council members, council chair. Apologize, wrong page. This request is for a one-time buy for installation of AV equipment in the fire department's headquarters, the Hampton Room. The current system is end of life, which significantly limits the fire department's ability to leverage modern audio-visual functionality for event-based situations and general daily use. The Hampton Room is currently outfitted, like I said, with end-of-life AV equipment and requires a refresh to meet modern standards. As a critical facility, this space directly supports public safety initiatives across Baltimore County. Without an upgrade, the fire department's ability to conduct daily operations and coordinate during events may be compromised, creating potential operational impacts for both the fire department and the community it serves. OIT wishes to utilize a daily contract with Virginia IT Agency, as pricing and available scope is similar to the county's previous contract. The county is in the evaluation of response phase for a new audiovisual contract in the future after this. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the members? We're good. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Director Pesterfield from Department of Corrections, amendment to a contract of Prime Care Medication Assisted Treatment Program at the Detention Center. How are you, Director Pesterfield?
Good evening. I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Good.
Yes, we're here for the action of an amendment to the healthcare services contract provided by Prime Care Medical Incorporated that the Baltimore County Department of Corrections is requesting to ensure continued access to vital healthcare services for the incarcerated population. The amendment addresses the addition of medications for opioid use disorder to the scope of service, an updated finding structure, and performance expectations to better align with current institutional health needs, regulatory obligations, and available resources. These changes are designed to improve service effectiveness, support fiscal responsibility, and strengthen outcomes for participants. Funding for this amendment will be to come out of the opioid abatement funds, ensuring targeted investments in healthcare services that are required by law.
Okay. Any questions for Director Pesterfield on this? Councilman Marks, you look like you have a question. No? All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
Okay, next up, we have Mr. Jonathan Herbst, Chief of Real Estate Compliance, on a contract of sale, the Kearney Rod and Gun Club, easement areas on Maglet Avenue in Kearney. It's still Kearney. It's right on the line.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the County Council. The administration is requesting approval of a contract to acquire easement access totaling 0.778 acres. This is in connection with the Jennifer Branch Relief Sewer Project. The particular contract we're here on this evening is from the Kearney Rod and Gun Club, Inc., which owns and operates a shooting range in the 5th Council District. The purchase price for this acquisition is $12,260. And it is a drainage and utility easement, actually two drainage and utility easements totaling 0.315 acres, and then 2 temporary construction areas totaling 0.463 acres. And this is part of a larger 5.29 acre parcel, again, that is unimproved, that is a shooting range in Councilman Marks' district.
Okay. Councilman Marks?
John, what is the progress overall on this project in terms of acquisitions?
So this is one that is with JMT. They're a consultant that was contracted to handle this. Hold on, it looks like there's one remaining acquisition that's going to require council approval. There's a total of 25 acquisitions, and this one that we're here on is the 9th out of 25, but only one more that needs to be approved by council, and that is because any acquisition over 5,000 by county charter has to be approved by the county council. Anything less than that, the administration can do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Herbst.
Other questions?
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, we appreciate you being here. Next up, we have Director Reed from OBF, Office of Budget and Finance, about a contract for ErgoFlex Systems.
I believe that's right, Mr. Chair. Good evening, council members, Mr. Chair. This is a request to approve a contract with ErgoFlex Systems, doing business as Zybex Systems, to provide extended warranty and repair services for our dispatch consoles for our 911 call takers and operators, and our Towson and our backup site. The compensation is about 163,983 over the 2-year period, and will commence upon council approval. These are rather elaborate consoles. They go up, they go down, they have lighting. They need to be maintained frequently, and this provides a warranty to do that over the 2-year period.
Okay. Any questions for Director Reed? Okay. Thank you, Director Reed.
Welcome.
And we have Lauren Buckler, Director Buckler from DPWT. About 2 contracts, one for Waste Management Services Community Cleanup Program, my favorite subject, and one for heavy equipment rentals as part of landfill operations. Good evening, Director Buckler. How are you?
Good evening. So the first contract is for the Community Cleanup Program. The administration is requesting approval of 3 contracts with MBG Refuge Services, M&R Contracting, and Spindler Enterprises to provide roll-off containers as needed for the Community Cleanup Program. Each contract commences upon council approval and continues for 1 year and will renew automatically for 4 additional 1-year periods. The provided compensation may not exceed the amount appropriated for these services. The estimated amount for the 5-year, 4-month term is $1.185 million. Happy to take any questions that you have.
Councilman Marks?
Lauren, I want to thank you for your support with the cleanup at the Dowden Chapel in early October. We were provided 2 roll-off containers. We worked with Senator Jackson's office, and everyone was highly professional and very supportive. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And while Councilman Marks is on that, I've actually had 2 as well, one in Hillendale. It was very successful. We had a new group of neighbors come out and really work hard, and we filled jam-packed 2 dumpsters, and I just had one 2 weekends ago in Holland Hill over in the Hazelwood area, and we had a really successful cleanup there, and it's always appreciative to have backup from DPW, sorry.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and then you have one more on heavy equipment rentals.
I do. We are requesting approval for 4 contracts with Carter Machinery Company, HERC Rentals, McClung Logan Equipment Company, and United Rentals to provide heavy equipment and rental services as needed at the Eastern, Central, and Western facilities. We use these as needed when our equipment's down and we need heavy equipment for those sites. So the contracts commence upon council approval and continue for 1 year and will renew automatically for an additional 4 1-year periods. The estimated compensation for contractors combined totals $80,000 for the entire 5-year, 4-month term. And again, this is only used if we have a piece of equipment go down. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Director Buckler? Thank you, ma'am. Have a great night.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Ms. Buckler also has bills 68, 69, and 70.
Oh, okay, yes.
They were, she has already testified at the first work session. They're in for final reading and vote. I'm sure she can testify again if the council wishes, however you want to handle that.
Did you want to say anything more? This is about the rural public transportation.
These are
I
3
think
bills.
Tony Russell was in and went through them all last.
That's right. I'm sorry. You're right. It was Mr. Russell.
Yep. The 3 bills that give us supplemental appropriation for federal and state funds towards County Ride and the Loop. And I can answer any questions about those or go through them each if you'd like.
Yeah, and I think we had a couple questions for when Tony was in. But anybody have anything else? That's it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have Bill 7325. This is from Councilman Ertel and Marks, zoning regulations, artisan manufacturing. And Director Lafferty is here. And I think, Director Lafferty, did you want to tell us a little bit about Bill 7325? Absolutely.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the County Council. Thank you for the opportunity to address you regarding Bill 73-25. And I want to thank all of those of you who were able to meet with me and our community planners to discuss this bill and the purpose. And this evening with me is Abigail Rogers, one of the community planners who actually did a lot of the legwork putting together the basics for this bill. Basically, this bill will allow artisan manufacturing in business zones, business local, business roadside, and business major zones in the county's commercial revitalization districts. By adding these business opportunities, we believe that we will encourage more investment, diversify the businesses, encourage local economies, because this is often new entrepreneurs who are looking for new places, artisans, entrepreneurs who are looking for a place outside of their garage or their basement or their kitchen in order to engage in a more expanded business opportunity. These are businesses that will be fabricating and or manufacturing relatively small quantities of goods that could be stored and sold on the premises. The bill will allow a combination of manufacturing and retail on spaces where there's no greater than 10,000 square feet, and the business would have no more than 25 employees. Artisan manufacturing is sometimes referred to as small-scale manufacturing. It's a concept that's gained a lot of traction throughout the country. We've also seen at conferences and webinars an encouragement of small business development such as this. The legislation would allow makerspace in commercial kitchens, as well as the production, storage, and retail of various items, including food items, candles, prints, handicrafts, even musical instruments. And in developing this bill, we consulted with our zoning office and also with a number of the business leaders in the commercial districts. We believe this reflects their interests as well in stimulating reinvestment in the older commercial districts. With that, I ask for your support.
Councilman Patoka.
Thank you, Director Lafferty and Mr. Chair. Mr. Secretary, could you add me as a sponsor of this bill? Thank you.
Yes.
Councilman Crandall.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Lafferty, thank you to you and the folks that have worked on this bill. We've talked a lot on this dais about the modernization of our county code to reflect a modern economy. Most of our code was done in the 60s, early 70s, and we've piecemealed some things together as opportunities came about. But these maker spaces and that sort of artisan manufacturing, it's something that is a real thing. And it is good, I think, for us to recognize that as an allowed use in these areas. So appreciate the work on this. Mr. Secretary, please add me as a sponsor as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Crandall. Anybody else?
Mr. Secretary, you can add me as well.
Okay. Thank you, Director Lafferty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, we do have one speaker for this
we do?
item.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Let's. Mr. Croner. No?
No.
That's who
It's
it said.
Chrissy Erb.
Oh.
Ms. Erb,
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
you're welcome. You may begin your testimony when you're ready.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Good evening, Chairperson, Councilman Crandall, and members of the council. My name's Chrissy Erb. I serve as the Executive Director of the Essex Community Development Corporation. And I thank you tonight for the opportunity to testify in support of the creation of a zoning category for small-scale manufacturing within commercial revitalization districts. Across Baltimore County, and especially in places like Essex, we see talented makers, artisans, and small-scale producers operating businesses that don't fit neatly within the outdated zoning categories. In Essex, we are working every day to activate vacant storefronts, attract new businesses, and create a vibrant local economy along Eastern Boulevard. And as part of that work, Essex CDC has been out in the community identifying existing small scale manufacturers and home-based producers who could expand if given the opportunity. Last year, in partnership with the Chesapeake Gateway Chamber of Commerce and the Baltimore County Planning Department, we actually went out into the community in Essex and identified over a dozen entrepreneurs who would immediately benefit from this new zoning category. These are real people with real stories. You may know some of them. Sharon Pinkerton of Pinky Sweet Treats creates custom cakes, desserts, and specialty items from her home kitchen. She wants to grow, hire from within the community, and open a storefront. But a lack of access to shared commercial kitchen space has made that impossible at this point in her business trajectory. Also, Tina Singh of Tina's Kitchen prepares high quality Trinidadian meals loved by friends and family from across the area. And she could definitely benefit from leasing a shared space in a commercial kitchen. But again, the existing zoning doesn't provide for such a possibility right now. This bill really gives us a practical tool to support those entrepreneurs, to support job creation, local manufacturing, and commercial revitalization. On behalf of Essex CDC and small scale artisans, makers, and food producers in our community, I encourage you to support this bill and help unlock new opportunities in Main Street communities like ours. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I thank you for your leadership and consideration.
Councilman Patoka, and then I think Councilman Crandall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Erb, if this bill helps Pinky out, count on my support. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
And Chrissy, it's Todd. Thank you for the work that you continue to put in and being an advocate for the Essex business and community at large. And no one may get this but you, but I'm just going to tell you, go Martians. Martians.
Go Greyhounds.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Crandall. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So now we'll move to Bill 7425, and this is from me, the chair. This is similar to 7325. I actually have a project that's going on in Overly that I'm very excited about. It's a co-working space. The company that is doing it has a successful co-working space here in Towson called The Haven, and they're building another similar operation in Overly right at the city line. And I believe it's something that's going to transform the area and really help us build around this concept. One of the things that they're looking at when they were asking about the need for co-working space in the area, and they have a lot of people that want to are in need of offices to share, but they also this was formerly the Overly Catering Hall for many years. It became a church, and there's some semblance of a kitchen left, and they're actually looking to put in quite a substantial investment in order to add a commercial kitchen, because what they're finding is there's a lot of small bakers who don't have a brick and mortar location, but need to be able to produce, like, so if they're making chocolate chip cookies or whatever, they have to label them and put the ingredients and the calories and, you know, what the allergens, whatever. So this would allow or clarify that a commercial kitchen operation could be in conjunction with a office co-working space. So it's very similar to the 7325, which opens it up to makerspace things as well. But this, we just wanted to make sure that we were crystal clear that this was allowed and that the commercial kitchen didn't need to be its own entity. So that's why I put this bill in, and I'm actually, like I said, very excited about it because I think this could be a game changer for the Overley area. And with that, is there a speaker for that? So
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Croner is
Mr.
for this
Croner is
one.
here to
Okay.
speak on that item.
Thanks, Mr. Croner. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good.
For the record, Brad Croner, Deputy Director of Government Affairs for the administration. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on Bill 7425. This bill would allow the co-location of office space, including co-working spaces, with a commercial kitchen in the business major zone CCC district in the Overley Rossville CRD, like Chairman Ertel mentioned. I think that by providing additional flexibility in the CCC district, this bill creates the potential for exciting new business opportunities, new jobs, and a boost to the Bel Air Road corridor, like Chairman Ertel mentioned. I think that this bringing co-working spaces with commercial kitchens to Bel Air Road creates new pathways for small businesses to grow. Additionally, like Chairman mentioned, this bill could generate some synergy with Bill 7325, addressing the artisan manufacturing. And I think taken together, these innovative bills can create an exciting mix of new uses that reinvigorate our main streets and drive economic growth. However, those benefits need not be limited to the Overley Rossville Commercial Revitalization District and could be beneficial elsewhere. Only suggestion, consider exploring whether this could be beneficial in other corridors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Croner. Appreciate you testify. Councilman Marks, did you?
Thank you. I intend to support this bill, and I applaud Councilman Ertel for introducing it. Mr. Croner, this only applies in the Overley Rossville Commercial Revitalization District, correct?
Correct.
It only applies there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next up we have Bill 7525. This is also from a bill that I've engineered or originated. Bill 7525 grants additional authority for our code enforcement to enter a rental property to enforce provisions of the Baltimore County zoning regulations related to the livability code, and to investigate a complaint or reasonable belief of a violation for unauthorized rooming and boarding house, a failure to maintain certain minimum fire safety standards, or an alteration or discrepancy in number of bedrooms. Bill 7525 authorizes code enforcement to enforce provisions of the zoning regulations that are related to the livability code. I said that before. Specifically, the bill authorizes a code official to enter a structure or premises with permission of the tenant for the purpose of investigating a complaint of or reasonable belief of a violation of unauthorized rooming boarding house as defined by the Baltimore County zoning regulations, a failure to maintain minimum standards of fire safety facilities and equipment under Code 35-5-213, or an unauthorized alteration or discrepancy in number of bedrooms for a licensed residential rental property as reported by the State Department of Assessments and Taxation. So we've been having some issues. We've talked to, actually I think we're having a second meeting with code enforcement to just iron out some of the details of this bill. But we feel this will give a little bit additional authority for code enforcement to be able to enter rental property for different issues that we see, especially fire safety. So that's why I've introduced it. And I think is there any discussion or questions?
I do have one.
Okay.
So I'm just curious. So the tenant will give permission to the code enforcement official to come inside. And if the code enforcement official finds let's say the fire code is in violation, then is it an obligation of the code enforcement person to revoke the person's right to be there? Do they have to get out, or what happens then?
I believe if there's a fire safety violation, that would go to the owner of the property. It would be just like any other code enforcement violation in that there would be, we're looking for compliance, so they would ask for them to correct, you need to add smoke detectors or
Right.
Carbon monoxide detectors, or why isn't there a extinguisher? One of the things that, and Councilman Jones, one of the things that we're seeing a lot of and we may be seeing it in other places, but in the Towson area in particular, some property owners have added bedrooms, specifically in the basement of row homes, where they have not provided for fire escape, either through enlarged windows that are mandated by most fire code, or blocked entrances to, I had one property, this wasn't a student rental, but I had one in Loch Raven Village where a deck was built over the back steps so you could get out the back door, but there was no way to escape you could go up the steps, but you were trapped under a deck.
Right.
So one of the things we're hoping that we catch things like that, so we don't have a death that could have been avoided because we caught it early and made provisions for people to be able to escape a fire.
Okay.
Okay. So is there a speaker for this too? Or no? Okay, all right. All right, so if there's no more questions on 7525, I will move on to 7625. Councilman Marks, this is your bill, zoning regulations, energy storage devices.
Thank you very much. Bill 7625, as introduced, would have established temporary controls to suspend the permitting of energy storage devices in a certain part of Baltimore County until the Department of Planning reviewed the current regulations for noise, landscaping, and recommended new regulations. I have since said that I will be offering an amendment to take the moratorium out of this bill, so that what we are basically doing is instructing the Department of Planning to review the current regulations for these devices, to look at best practices, and to recommend possible new regulations. So again, the moratorium proposed in this bill would go away. It would simply be directing the Department of Planning to look at kind of the state of practice with regard to energy storage devices. I have talked to BGE, I've had very good discussions with them. I think they're very interested in being a part of this process, and that's where we'll be going with this bill. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Marks. Any questions for Councilman Marks on the energy storage? Oh, we have speakers.
I do want to have one more thing too.
Oh, yes, Councilman Marks, sorry.
So one thing that I believe they would look at is where the state of Maryland is. So the state may preempt our ability to issue regulations, just like with solar facilities. I think the area where we may have a little more control is with landscaping, but that is one of the things the Department of Planning will look at.
We do have two speakers, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Our first speaker is Kevin Day.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Councilman Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I'm glad you brought that part up. We can talk. This is the first time we're hearing it, so look forward to some questions we don't need to bring up right now. I'm just for clarification, because I know it's your bill. I haven't had the full time to kind of go over it, but I'll reach out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Young. Sorry about that.
My apologies. Our first speaker is Kevin Day, followed by Polly Alfuano.
Polly.
They're both here in person.
Okay. Mr. Day, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming in today.
My pleasure. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Start over.
Good morning, or good evening, Chairman Ertel and fellow council members. My name is Kevin Day, President of Foresight Renewables. Foresight is an affiliate of the property owner Bally's Quarters Investment One LLC that you might be familiar with since the county purchased a portion of the property for the park. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about how this bill impacts the proposed utility-scale battery energy storage project on a portion of the former CP Crane coal generating station that has been underway since bill number 5424 went into effect back in August of 2024. This project represents a forward-looking investment in the county's economic future, environmental health, and energy resilience. For almost 60 years, the CP Crane coal facility was a fixture on this site. While the retirement marked the end of an era, it also opened the door for renewal and reinvestment. The site has since been responsibly decommissioned, demolished, and cleared, creating a rare opportunity to repurpose existing industrial infrastructure for modern energy use. The county has already taken a meaningful step by acquiring approximately 85 acres for a public park, preserving open space and providing new recreational amenities for its residents. Our affiliate, Foresight Development, engaged in negotiations with Councilman Marks, the previous county executive, and the local community associations to facilitate the sale of the land for the park in order to garner support for Bill 5424, which defined in which zoning battery storage facilities could be built. We have been coordinating with BG&E since the passage of 5424, and the potential changes to the existing regulations for energy storage devices will hinder those discussions. The project represents a significant private investment, typically in the range of $100 to $300 million for a facility of this scale. Battery energy storage facilities provide essential grid support by storing electricity during periods of low demand and delivering it back when the grid needs it most. Unlike the coal plant that once stood here, that has been environmentally remediated, the battery project produces no emissions, minimal noise, and no discharge. The project aligns with the county's goals for economic diversification through clean energy investment, environmental stewardship by utilizing an already disturbed industrial land, and community renewal by turning a legacy coal site into both a park and a source of grid modernization. We are aligned with the county and the local communities in the need for designing sufficient landscape buffers to shield the site visually from the adjoining park and neighborhoods, meeting all state and federal requirements for fire safety and protection, and meeting noise standards. In short, this battery project brings lasting economic value, environmental benefits, and energy resilience, all while preserving the integrity of the surrounding community and complementing the county's investment in the new park. We look forward to working closely with the county, local stakeholders, and community members to ensure the project reflects shared values and priorities. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Councilman Marks?
Yeah, and I want to thank you for your partnership. I had a conversation with Ryan Ford on October 22nd, and then yesterday, in which I conveyed the news about the moratorium being lifted.
I appreciate that.
You've been a terrific partner. Thank you for working with us on the Crane property, and I think this will be a process that brings all stakeholders together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming.
My pleasure.
Next speaker, Ms.
Next is Mr. Pauly Afwano, who is also here in person.
Good evening, Council Chair, Council members. It's good to see you.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Always good to see you.
You ready?
Whenever you are.
So while it is Baltimore Gas and Electric's understanding that Bill 7625 was introduced to gain additional clarity around the county regulations regarding bulk and area regulations, landscape requirements, and noise limitations for energy storage devices, it would be remiss of me not to take the opportunity to talk about the importance of battery storage, especially with BGE being the utility that it is. As you know, the Renewable Energy Certainty Act, RECA, was signed into law by Governor Moore on May 20th, 2025, with an effective date of July 1st, 2025. RECA streamlines and standardizes the requirements for renewable energy development in the state. The act requires the state to instruct agencies to develop standardized land use requirements for siting solar energy generating stations over 1 megawatt, and for energy storage devices. Battery storage is important and will be a key element to keeping the lights on and focusing on energy affordability. Battery storage is one of the most affordable energy solutions that help Maryland become more energy independent. We need to deploy all visible or viable energy solutions, including battery storage and generation, as quickly as possible to keep the lights on. Maryland ratepayers are facing a crisis where electricity is simultaneously becoming unaffordable and less reliable, harming residential customers and critical economic development opportunities without a solution in sight. Bills are going up due to supply-side crisis. Reliability must-run agreements and capacity payments currently cost Maryland consumers about $20 a month. That's roughly an 18% increase. And that number is likely to rise and double to about as much as $40 a month without intervention. Capacity prices in PJM have skyrocketed almost an average of 830% in 1 year. And prices may need to more than double again and remain elevated before developers will be willing to build new generation. Maryland ratepayers are facing a crisis where electricity is simultaneously becoming unaffordable and less reliable, harming residential customers and critical economic development opportunities without a solution in sight. Bills are going up due to supply-side crisis. Oh, I'm sorry, I said that already. Blackouts and voltage collapse will be the new reality, as we saw with the Brandon Shores outage in August 2025. Without a solution in this shortage, razor-thin power supply margins mean rolling brownouts and blackouts may become a frequent reality for ratepayers. This is a safety issue. Outages are dangerous for Maryland's health, safety, and business community. It is becoming worse quickly. PJM has already declared 11 emergency events year to date in 2025 versus only 7 in the prior 10 years. PJM anticipates a high risk of widespread voltage collapse as soon as 2 years from now. In closing, Baltimore Gas and Electric supports battery storage and urges the council to work expeditiously towards implementing battery storage to support Maryland's energy goals.
Any comments? Councilman Jones.
Yes, I first of all, thank you so much for being here. I guess want to say that the citizens of Maryland is really taking it on the chin, at least the citizens here in the BGE area of operation. And I would employ BGE to do whatever it can to help provide some relief to the enormous bills that citizens find themselves in. When people have to decide whether to turn the heat on or buy groceries, I mean, things are getting tough. And I know that we can do everything we can here at the council level, but I know that many of these issues, when you're dealing with PJM and some other big players in the marketplace, I would like to encourage BGE to do whatever it can to provide relief to the citizens of the greater Baltimore metropolitan area who are covered by BGE. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Councilman Jones.
Sure. Councilman Marks, did you?
Thank you for your conversation today about the bill.
Councilman Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you, Holly. So your register is undecided on the bill.
Well, we support battery storage, but the way the bill was written, we are kind of on the neutral side there.
Gotcha. Right. And in your testimony, you're saying there's painting a picture of what the future holds based on what you all have been experiencing. And I know we've had multiple conversations about providing power to Marylanders, and specifically Baltimore County residents. But you said there was no plan in place to solve these issues. Are you saying that battery storage is a solution, or?
It's an immediate solution. It's a faster solution than creating more substations. Obviously, we're still working through the Brandon Shores mitigation plan, but battery storage would be the most expedient way to begin to relieve some of that stress.
And so that's one piece of a larger whole, it sounds like.
That's
with
correct.
still no plan to solve these long-term issues related to power.
Well, we do have partnerships with our state legislative team, so we are going to be working through the General Assembly with the next, just drew a blank there.
Right, legislative session.
Yeah, thank you, with the next regulatory session.
And it sounds like you've talked with the sponsor and had some conversations, so you believe that there's at least a willingness to work together where there is a way that you'd be in support of the bill?
Absolutely. Councilman Marks has indicated that he's open to having some additional discussions, and we appreciate that. Looking forward to those.
Beyond battery storage, is there anything else, since you said you kind of put it on us to help solve the problem? What else could you make a suggestion for that we should be looking at related to the power needs and also costs associated with the consumption of power by Baltimore County residents and Maryland residents?
Definitely advocating with your state peers on policy that is going to be helpful to our energy state. I think a lot of that is going to rely with that session coming up in 2025. We've had some very productive discussions with the last session, and we're moving in the correct direction, but we need to move a little faster than we're currently moving.
Gotcha. I mean, it sounds like we need to move a lot faster.
I agree. I agree, but I don't have that control. We can just continue to push that it is a concern.
Right. I think the concern, and even I think Councilman Jones brought this up too, is just the rising costs that residents are burdened with when looking at the overall, I would say, revenue generated by especially Maryland consumers when it comes to power and how that implies and applies to BGE as well as the other parent companies that are providing power to the state. So I guess the question is, while we do our part, what part are you all and your parent companies doing to try and mitigate costs?
Well, much of those costs are on the supplier side. So if we have to look at those generators and what they're charging. And that's really where the additional costs are coming from. That's a cost that's passed on to those ratepayers. And until we can get that piece under control, they're not in any hurry to create additional generation, correct? Because they're making these astronomical rates of return. So we need to put more pressure on that system specifically to control how much generation and possibly put a cap on what they can earn. I mean, if you hurt them where their wallet is, then chances are we'll see a benefit. But that's my personal.
Sure. And while we've already moved beyond the local jurisdiction, be happy to provide any assistance in trying to pressure folks, or at least provide information about what the real impact of those costs are on Maryland consumers. So appreciate your partnership on this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Jones. Thank you, Mr. Chair. One more question, just so that I make sure I understand. I know that for folks that have solar panels, the battery storage is a game changer because you can, you need electricity even when the sun is not shining. So it's a way to capture it. In terms of BGE, do we hold the storage for peak use? Do we store the power for peak use? Or do we regulate it by siphon it off when the price is high? We go to batteries? What is the usage of the battery units in terms of big scale?
For the most part, it would be for peak shaving. So if we're in an opportunity where we're using more energy than we have available, we could use that battery storage energy to help feed the system at that point. There's two separate things here that I want to kind of clarify. There's the large scale battery storage, which Mr. Day kind of spoke about. And then there's the smaller battery storage that we're currently working through in Councilman Patoka's, Councilman Catch's district, which would have the opportunity to offset some of those costs by being able to sell that surplus energy on the market and bring those costs down. So battery storage in a whole, if it's something that BGE was involved with, would be able to bring the cost of energy down, because then we would have in-state generation versus bringing it from out of state.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Jones. Anybody else? All right, thank you, Paulie.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Bill 7725. This is also from Councilman Marks, Planning of Sewage Projects, Property Owner Obligations. Councilman Marks?
Yes, this is a fairly complex summary, so please bear with me. The impetus for this bill came about after many years of work on a sanitary sewer project in the Perry Hall Manor area. Roughly 8 years ago, there were complaints that the groundwater might be contaminated in this part of northeastern Perry Hall. There was an investigation. The county executive, then a state senator, was able to appropriate some funding to help subsidize the cost of that project. There was a poll of the members of that community, and overwhelmingly they supported opting into the sanitary sewer system. And the county was proceeding with the plan to install that system over the next few years. Baltimore County Public Works and Transportation has been attempting to locate the site for a pumping station. It's proven difficult. And as a result, DPWT has changed their plans, instead opting for a grinder pump system. I guess the problem for many people is that the current proposed design is materially different than the design that was on the table when the opt-in interest forms were circulated among the residents of the community. Many people in this area believe that the new design will have severe limitations on the property owners. For example, it will restrict property owners from making improvements, additions to the houses. There also may be some restrictions on plumbing fixtures. And there's a lot of people in the community who just have a lot of questions about this process. And there's a significant amount of feelings that folks should be able to opt out. And many believe that an entirely new process should be established because it's really a completely different project. It's no longer a sanitary sewer project. It's now a grinder pump process. So there's a sentiment that there should be some sort of procedure to prevent the county from locking those people into this situation. In other words, we should not be compelling property owners who do not have a failing system from opting in before they have a signed contract, before the county has a signed contract for construction. So this bill, Bill 7725, modifies the process the county has traditionally used to say the following. Before the county executes a contract for the construction or the financial responsibilities or a project, the directors of the Departments of Public Works and Transportation and Environmental Protection Sustainability must first identify any participating property that does not have a failing septic system, and second, provide those property owners with a full disclosure of estimated project costs and a schedule of the anticipated assessments and financial responsibilities in a legal agreement in a form sufficient for recordation of the land records of the county. If the county fails to identify and provide those disclosures to property owners before the execution of a construction contract for the project, the property owner will not be required to finance the project. There's a lot of talk about property rights. This is, I think, an example where people legitimately feel like their property rights are being impeded upon. And I'm not saying that the Department of Public Works has overtly bad intentions. I think that there are people who want to solve this problem, but the process is moving very, very fast, and a lot of these residents just don't know the full ramifications of what they're signing into.
Thank you, Councilman Marks. Any questions for Councilman Marks on this before we go to speakers? None? Okay, Ms. Belcastro, first speaker.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our first speaker is Mark Moore, who is here in person, followed by Robert Swiderski, who is on virtually.
Good evening, Mr. Moore. How are you? You're coming up here and pressing the button when the mic, so the mic turns green. Yeah, if you want to. Hand them up to us, we'll. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Good evening, council members. My name is Mark Moore. I'm the president of the Citizens to Preserve the Community of Perry Hall Manor. Councilman Marks, we appreciate your continued support for our community and for introducing the bill to revise the county code to require DPWT to provide homeowners the detailed financial information, project details, and to confirm property owners' ability to choose whether or not to connect to the public sewer system if they have a fully functioning septic system. In 2022, DPWT informed the community that they completed 90% of a sewer design that included a pumping station and that the community would have gravity-fed systems except for unique situations. But DPWT would not release the sewer design document identifying which properties would have a gravity-fed system and which would have a grinder pump until the association filed the Public Information Act in 2025. Documents 1, 2, and 3, which I provided this evening to the council, are from 2022. The first document was the property owners to express an interest to connect to the water project. The second informed property owners of a clerical error that the document should have stated sewer project instead of water project, and that property owners who submitted the initial water project form did not have to submit the updated third document with a revision stating sewer project. August 2025, DPWT facilitated a virtual community meeting informing that all properties would require grinder pump and hinted that the cost had increased. DPWT director informed the community that property owners who submitted the I Want to Connect form that you have there from 2022 cannot opt out of the new design, but if you did not submit the form, you could opt out of the new project. DPWT provided estimated project costs for each property in 2022 for the initial design, but now state that they cannot provide updated cost estimates for this current design until the summer of 2026. September 2025, DPW informed property owners that the county lifetime grinder pump maintenance agreement would end if a bedroom or bathroom was added to the home, or if an object or substance was mistakenly flushed through the system and affected the grinder pump. Why would improving a property void the county's lifetime grinder pump maintenance agreement? Correcting this newly learned information that we learned in September of 25 for the first time would potentially encourage more residents to want to connect to the public sewer system. October 2025, DPWT provided the addresses of 6 suitable pumping station properties to the association for them to negotiate and have the property owners provide their desired sale price. 2 of the property owners have expressed an interest to the association. The association has forwarded questions to property owners to DPWT for clarification, and DPWT said that they will respond in 2 weeks. This is very positive because it could provide a pumping station for our community. Our community has been eager to partner with DPWT and to know the details of the project, but it has been very challenging at times. As has been shared, DPWT never provided property owners available data needed to make informed decisions about connecting to the public sewer system, and are now stating that property owners cannot opt out of the new design if they submitted the form for the first design. We ask for your support in correcting the county code to require DPWT to provide financial and design details and to clarify property owners the ability to opt out of the project if the septic system is fully functional. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Councilman Patoka?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moore. So in the beginning, you said you had to file a public information request.
Yes.
Is that for the data or for addresses?
It was for a map that identified our whole community and which properties would have a grinder pump and which one would have a gravity-fed system, and this was for the design from 2021, 2022. We asked repeatedly, but there was some, I believe, reluctance to release that information.
It seems pretty straightforward. Your community association, you ask the county for assistance, please show us a map. We're a transparent county, but we don't want to show you the map. Is that what it's?
That's correct.
Is there any, can I ask whoever does this for Baltimore County to explain why a community association would request a map? And we're saying, no, you got to file PA form to get a map.
Ms. Buckler's actually going
Buck-
to, she's
okay.
actually going to be one of the witnesses, or
Okay.
one of the speakers.
That seems bizarre to me. Anyhow, I'll let it go. Thank you for your testimony.
Yes, Councilman Mark.
And Mr. Mark, why is there urgency to this bill? You described the November 1st.
Yes.
deadline.
All along, as you can see on those two documents, 1 and 3 that I provided, it had a date of July of 2022, and that date kept moving forward as the county searched for properties for the pumping station. The current urgency now is November 1st of 2025 for our community feels and our legal counsel feels that there is the ability of the community to opt out. While the county has, DPWT has repeatedly said that's just for additional people to opt into the project. And so the urgency now is that November 1st will be the deadline for locking that down. What's interesting about the deadline is we, the community, is now communicating with property owners in our area to secure a piece of property for the pumping station. We have 2 residents of the 6 that were provided to us that are considering, and one I think very interested, but has additional questions. So we would hope that the county isn't moving forward with the full 100% grinder pump design while we're trying to secure a piece of property for the county.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Marks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Ms. Belkacem, your next speaker.
Certainly. Our next speaker, my apologies. Our next speaker is Robert Swiderski, followed by Rosemarie Lazati, who is here in person. Mr. Swiderski, you may begin your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Bob Swiderski, and I'm the Vice President of the Citizens to Preserve the Community of Perry Hall Manor. Councilman Marks, thank you again for your continued support. The completion of the public health sewer project is crucial for the future well-being of our community and homeowners. However, it's also important that community members have the option to opt out of the project. No one should be forced to participate unless their septic system is failing. Public Works is asking homeowners to commit to a huge decision without providing extremely important information. They cannot tell us if we're going to have a pumping station or not. They cannot tell owners if they're getting a grinder pump or not. They cannot inform owners of the cost of the project. To me, this is unreasonable and unfair. Due to Public Works' practice of sharing limited, detailed information, this has resulted in creating an environment of mistrust within our community. One example is when the county stated participants in the project will have the grinder pump maintained for life by the county. However, the fine print on the grinder pump agreement indicates the first 2 years after the grinder pump is installed, the grinder pump will be maintained by the manufacturer. I question why this would not be disclosed. Public Works started negotiating with 2 owners in 2021 regarding purchasing land for the pumping station. One owner quickly backed out of the discussion due to Public Works' lack of timely communication. Negotiations with the other owner lasted approximately 4 years. Public Works shared with us several times the owner was not receptive or responsive. In the summer of 2025, the owner refused to sell the land. Why would Public Works solely focus on a low probability property for 4 years? In my opinion, it's due to their lack of project ownership and management. We asked several times over these 4 years if we could reach out to owners of potential pumping station locations and were told not to negotiate with owners. I'm asking what has changed. Recently, Public Works informed us it's our responsibility, yes, our responsibility to secure land for a pumping station. They want our community association to pre-negotiate with homeowners. Is this due to their lack of ownership? In 2 short weeks, we have started conversations with 2 owners that may be interested. We ask the Public Works leadership help us in receiving timely and detailed answers to our questions to eliminate the constant need for follow-up questions with Public Works. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Swiderski. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Certainly. Our next speaker is Rosemarie Lazati, who is here in person, followed by Joe DeSantis, who is also here in person.
Ms. Lazati, how are you?
Oh, there's Mr. Zadi. Saw her in the elevator.
Saw her in the-
First, I'd like to thank all of you for having us here to speak on behalf of Jefferson.
Oh, there's a little button on the mic there, so they can hear you at home.
Okay. So I really appreciate the opportunity that you're giving us to speak on behalf of our Perry Hall Manor community. And I am so appreciative of you, Mr. Marks, that a lot of times we've been on the opposite side of the table regarding the sewer project, but I am 100% in favor of the amendment to this bill. And I really appreciate you putting that forward, because what's happening to our community is really not fair. And my father used to always say, well, the fair's in timonium. You know, you don't bring that up. But at the same time, I would like to say that this has been going on since 2018, discovering that we do have issues in our community. And it wasn't until 2021 that our community was told that we had to have a sewer project brought in. And it blindsided a lot of our community members, because there is a central area. Perry Hall Manor has 130 homes, and it's a modest community. It's mostly brick ranchers. I'd say about 60% of the people there are retired. Some retired people move in because of the brick ranchers. And then the other portion of the development there is children, young families. And we're like Leave It to Beaver community. The kids are all riding bikes, they're roller skating, they play football in other neighbors' yards. People watch one another's animals when they go away. Everybody waves. It's the friendliest. I feel privileged to be there, and it's a no outlet neighborhood. Since all of this has come about, our neighborhood is tense. You know, we originally were told that each house was going to cost them for this project $40,000 to $90,000, and we could finance it over 5 years or 40 years through the county at 5%. Needless to say, everybody was pretty upset. And when you're talking money, your future and your largest investment, in this case in our community, people are not calm. We were then given in August 2022, this, I think Mr. Moore submitted that, the letter of interest that we were to sign if we were interested in this project. The letter of interest never said anything regarding a code that obligated us, that if we signed this, we were obligating ourselves for this project in the future. And like Mr. Moore had said, all of us anticipated not grinder pumps for every home, but a pumping station. What a grinder pump means for our homes is 15 feet of easement to wherever the septic is currently, and also a 10 by 10 foot plot of land dedicated to that grinder pump. In my situation, my husband and I, we have only 50 feet of frontage. And in that 50 feet, they will have to come through our driveway to lay pipe for this grinder pump. The man next door, he does not want to opt in because he has a brand new septic system. The man next door to him doesn't want to opt in because his septic system is fine. And to think that we are being forced to opt into this project, where grinder pumps, because of this easement, people have to take down trees, dig up driveways, take down sheds, fences. It's very invasive, and it's not at all what we thought we were going to sign up for in 2022. One other thing I just want to bring about is that the county did on their website for our project, this was Baltimore County Government, April 5th, 2022. They talked about, for those people who choose not to connect, it says, if your septic system fails and a public sewer is available to the property, a connection to public sewer will be required. EPS will not issue a permit to repair a failed septic system if public sewer is determined to be available. Property owners who choose not to connect will not be able to finance their connection charges through the county if they decide to connect later. When a property owner's septic system fails, they will be responsible for hiring a utility contractor and paying the full amount. There is nothing that is said there. This was in 2022. It was in May of 2021 that the code changed. And I believe the code changed because of our neighborhood, because they wanted to force this onto our residents. There was always conflict in our neighborhood around this. And I would venture to say in a legal battle, this would not hold up in court. It was never disclosed to us what we were signing, a letter of interest that now obligated us legally because of a code that they happened to revise in 2021. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Lozati.
Thank you very much.
I thank you for your time, especially you.
Next speaker, Ms. Bell.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Joe DeSantis, followed by Lauren Buckler, who is
How are you,
also here in
Mr.
person.
DeSantis? Good.
Here to talk. Thanks, Mr. Marks, for putting the bill forth. And sounds like you guys have heard a lot already about this and it's probably spinning around in your head trying to understand it. But like Ms. Lozati said, and Mark Moore and Mr. Swiderski, it's been a process from a long time. So I'll just keep it short and simple. I moved into the neighborhood about 16 years ago. This came about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's been a thing of strife in the neighborhood, a lot of back and forth. You know, the communication with DPWT and the county has been less than stellar. A lot of us, it's a big decision, as Dodie pointed out, and I didn't hear brought up a lot. This is about approximately $40,000 project each home. A lot of the homeowners are fixed income, modest homes. You know, there's people with kids that are growing, you know, some of them going to private school. We have people that are trying to bring in family members to live. Everything changed from the initial plan, which was supposed to be a mixed grinder pump and gravity fed system, to basically being forced to everyone to have a grinder pump. So what we're just asking for is the option to opt out. It's a big financial burden on a lot of homeowners. And most of the folks, a lot of them that opted in 2021, this was sprung on them that the whole project has changed, and DPWT is saying, well, no, you have no option to opt out, but we are allowing people to opt in. I just feel the pressure shouldn't be put on residents to take on such a large financial burden, especially since everything changed. So that's the long and short.
questions, Councilman Moore?
Thank you, Mr. DeSantis.
You're
Short
welcome.
and sweet.
Mr.
Great.
DeSantis.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Final speaker is Director Lauren Buckler.
Buckler. We haven't seen you forever.
I will try to be succinct, but this is a very complicated issue. So this project has gone on for a long time. I understand the concerns of the community. It's a lot of money. It's not as much money as being talked about. I think there's still a lot of confusion on that. So just to give you some ideas of where we're at. In county code, when it's a health project, the county contributes to some of the cost of the project. If it's a petition project, we contribute zero. So typically health projects, everyone in the neighborhood is being required to connect, which is what's in code. And what is also spelled out in this bill is if it's a health project, you still have to connect. In this particular neighborhood, we had a unique situation. We had 21 properties of the 129 properties that were failing. All of the properties are on the same soil conditions. It's the geographic situation of that neighborhood. So DEPS did an assessment of the soil conditions and of which properties were failing and the size of these lots. As you heard, these houses are small ranchers for the most part. They're on small lots, quarter an acre, half an acre. Typically you see septic on large lots outside the Ertl in Baltimore County because you need space for the septic and the leach field. To rehab the septic system under today's standards, there isn't enough room and it conflicts with the well systems in the neighborhood. We have provided maps in the past to the neighborhood of where all the wells are located because every house has an individual well and every house has a septic versus where the septic fields are. And there's a lot of overlap that shouldn't be there because the neighborhood was built prior to some of the rules that we have in place today. When we looked at the project originally, our hope was to build a pump station, which is the most economical way for the county to maintain the system, to have one pump station that we go to with our staff to maintain. The county has 120 pump stations around the county currently that we maintain. We have about 3,000 grinder pumps that we maintain. Each grinder pump we have to go to an individual person's home to deal with versus a single pump station. It's a lot more economical for us to be at a pump station. We have tried negotiating for several years with multiple property owners. We've been asked continuously by the community to provide information, both because community members want and don't want this project. We have not provided all the details on the negotiation with these property owners, but at the end of the day, everybody said no. There's a very high bar for us to go to condemnation. So the next choice was, what else can we do? We have 21 properties failing that email us on a regular basis with a solution. They can't sell their homes because they're failing. They can't add bedrooms or bathrooms to their homes because they won't get a permit approved because their systems are failing. So the option is to move to a grinder pump system where we don't have to buy property to get this project to move forward and work with those 21 homes. The way that this bill is written, it would loop us into just doing health projects. We wouldn't be able to do petition projects going forward because the bill spells out we have to have a contract with a contractor, which means we had to bid it, which means we have to have a design. I can't have a design with that many unknowns because what it's going to do is put in this factor of safety that's going to elevate the cost of the project exponentially. If I went to contractors and said, I don't know how many connections, I don't know how many linear feet of pipe. I don't know the diameter of the pipe. I don't know the depth the pipe needs to be because I don't know where those connections are. Just give me a bid. They're going to give me a really high bid. And then that number, the way that we do health projects again, there's a cost share. So it's about 50% to the community. In this case, the original cost estimates for the pump station option were about 10 million total. The county was pitching in about 5 million in rough numbers. So we're talking about 5 million to the community. That would have been $40,000 a property for the 120 homes, not 90,000 that you just heard quoted, $40,000. A replacement septic system to meet today's qualifications is about $40,000. A replacement septic system cannot be financed against your house and your property taxes. The sewer connection can. You finance it against your home. If you want, you can pay for it up front, or you can finance it against your home. And if you move, it stays with the home. It doesn't stay with you. If you finance a new septic system, it goes with you when you move. So we have several built-in factors of safety. In this project in particular, I heard mention of a code change. The only code change that occurred was to create a low-income program that was created for this project and is now available to anybody connecting to the sewer system. So we did change the code. It created a low-income program that you have to meet certain qualifications to be exempted from the cost, and then the costs go with your property to the next owner if they're not low income. We also got money from the state for this project, which we'd never gotten before. The state contributed $4.5 million. So that brought the cost down to $500,000 from the $10 million. That $500,000 with 120 property owners is $4,000 a property owner. That's it. A new septic system is $40,000. This is $4,000. And that's it. It fixes their problems. They can sell their homes. They can add additions. The comments you heard about grinder pumps is we're designing for now. So if you have a 3-bedroom house, we're designing the grinder pump for the amount of sewage that comes from a 3-bedroom house. If you add a 10-bedroom addition 4 years from now, that grinder pump is not going to serve that house anymore. So then the county is going to say, when you come through for permits to build that 10-bedroom addition, you need a new grinder pump. And at that point, it's not on the county to provide it because that's not part of the health project. That's something you're doing to develop your property, and that's part of developing your property, like buying bathroom fixtures. You're going to have to buy a grinder pump. So the county will maintain your grinder pump under a health project. By the way, there's thousands of grinder pumps across the county that are not part of a health project that the county does not maintain. We maintain about 3,000 across the county that were part of health projects. So the majority of our residents are maintaining their own grinder pumps. If you have a septic system, you're maintaining your own septic system. If you do something inappropriate to your plumbing, you are responsible for that repair. That's normal with a septic system or a sewer system, whether it's a grinder pump or a gravity sewer. If you're flushing things that don't fit and it overflows into your bathroom, you got to hire a plumber. The county doesn't come out there and fix that. So that's been the conversation with the community. I think there have been a lot of communication challenges. It has been a very long project. There are certain members of the community that don't want this, no matter what the option is before them. DPW's concerns with this piece of legislation is it would keep us from doing petition projects in the future. Because I can't bid and award a project when I don't know who's connecting. I don't know how big to make the pipe. If you make it too big, when you flush, the solids sit there. They just sit there and they harden. And then eventually you have a clogged sewer. So you have to size it appropriately so the right amount of water is coming through with the right amount of solids. So I can't just upsize everything in case everybody connects, because if they don't connect, we have a bunch of hardened sewers. If I make it small, assuming nobody's connecting, then when other houses fail in the future, they can't connect because the pipe's not big enough. They're going to have to rip everything back up and redo all the piping. So I need to know who's connecting so I can design the system. I know, Councilman Patoka, you asked about the maps. We did not release the maps for the pump station before because we never finalized a location for the pump station. We were in negotiations with multiple property owners, so I didn't have a finalized design to release. The location of the pump station changed the design of the depth of the pipe to everybody's houses. So there wasn't ever a final design to be released. Now that they've issued a PIA, we've released the incomplete design that we had before, but it wasn't ever complete. We've been moving forward on the grinder pump. The comments about making the community negotiate, at Councilman Marks' request, I went with him on a Friday night to Mr. Moore's house. Friday night, I spent in Mr. Moore's dining room talking about where we were and what the options were. This is about 3 weeks ago. And these properties that we'd negotiated with and how we hadn't gotten anywhere, and what the bar is to move to condemnation. If we go to condemnation, we need to show there's no other options. In this case, there is. There's a grinder pump option where I don't have to take anyone's private property that's unwilling to sell it to the county. So if I go before a judge and say, there's no other option, that's not true, because we have another option. And they'll bring specialists in that say there is another option where I don't have to take private property. Mr. Moore and Councilman Marks asked, could they negotiate with property owners and see if anybody would come to the table? I said, sure. If you can get them to come to the table, they haven't come to the table when we've asked, but if you asked and they call and they're willing to sell their property, great. DPWT did not force the community to do that. They asked if they could. We said, great, we welcome the help. At this point, we've gotten a list of questions. We have not gotten any of these property owners to contact DPWT. I need to know that they're really interested before we go down these rabbit holes. If they're very much interested, we'll look at, some of them are asking for things like, can we change ag tax requirements? Changing agricultural tax requirements is a state thing. It's not something I can say we can or can't do. It's going to require a bunch of other conversations. If that property is really interested in that, and that's the holdup, I need them to tell me they're interested so we can start those conversations at the state level. If they're not, and they're just trying to give reasons why they're not, great. But I need to hear from those property owners, and I have not at this point. I need to provide a solution to public health. This is the solution at this point. Happy to take any questions. I'm way over my time limit, sorry. It's very complicated.
I mean, Lauren, thank you for comprehensively answering this. And I understand you haven't been director of DPWT during this whole process, right?
That's correct.
County Administrative Officer, who's not here, was head of DPWT and for a significant part of this. So, and we've had a lot of conversations. I mean, the fundamental thing is that the current proposed design is materially different than the one a lot of people thought they were opting into, correct? It's much different.
There was still going to be a significant portion with grinder pumps. We just never knew who until we could finalize the location, but roughly 30 to 50% of the properties would have had grinder pumps.
So the other 70% would not have.
50 to 70% would not have.
Okay. And the other point, I think, is this project is still in design. It's not construction, right? It's a design.
That's correct.
So why the urgency? I mean, I know you have people contacting you regularly, but couldn't we slow this process down?
We have residents contacting us that say that they can't use their showers. They have to go to their friend's house, parents' house to shower because it overflows their septic system and they have to get it pumped out, and it costs them every time they pump it. I haven't gone in their bathroom to witness this. I know they have failed systems, but I don't know if they can't shower or not. We've been working on this project for years. We're trying to work towards a solution. Do we have to do it tomorrow? No. But we need to be able to give something to those residents that are stuck right now.
I mean, I think that's where the community got really afraid, is that there was this barrage of questions that were getting more and more intense, and people just thought this process was moving ahead too fast. I get it. I'm on septic. I understand there's a lot of issues, but I think fundamentally that's where people are. There's a lot of fear out there in the community.
Were you aware of everything that Ms. Buckler's talked about? The $4,000 per?
That's with the sanitary sewer. That's the grant that the county executive secured when she was a state senator. Yes.
Okay. So
Go ahead. Good. No, 4,000 for on the tax bill for how long?
That's the pumping station design. Now, what we haven't given is with the grinder pump design.
Okay, so we don't know
We're
enough.
estimating it's going to increase that 10 million by about $1 million, but I don't have a final design. But you add $1 million on, you divide it by 129 properties with the cost share. That doesn't take the cost share out of it yet. It's going to be more than 5,000, but way less than 40,000.
Councilman Jones.
And this will be on the tax bill for 30 years?
You can opt in for it to be on your tax bill for 40 years.
40 years.
40 years to pay off this $5,000. Or you can just pay it up front. You don't have to put it on your tax bill. Your choice.
So interest-free?
No, there's
Or
interest with it.
6%?
There's interest. I know that we did adjust the code on what it says on interest. I'd have to go back and check on that. It's whatever the county's rate is.
Yeah. And these grinder pumps are outside?
The grinder pumps are outside, they're in your yard, they're underground. You see, a round-looking manhole. There is an easement over it. You can't build a garage over top of it because we have to be able to get to it, to repair it, to maintain it. But you can, park your car over top of it. You just can't put a permanent structure over top of it that we couldn't get to.
And 20 of the whatever number you said have already, are failing now?
21 were failing when DEPS checked them originally. They haven't gone back out and checked, of the 129 properties. Of the 129 properties, those 21 are required to connect in. And then 92 properties have voluntarily opted in since we started this project. Voluntarily, no one was forced, voluntarily. So there are 16 properties at this point that have not opted in, and they may continue to opt in. We've continued to go out to the community to say, if you want in, you got to let us know by a certain date because we have to design to accommodate you. I need to put that on the plans to bid to the contractor, that there's a pipe going to your house. So I need to know if you're in. So that's what that November 1st date is. There's 16 properties that haven't opted in. If you want in, let me know by November 1st.
So just to be clear, so that I'm clear, how did this all start? How did you, what brought you to Perry Hall Manor? How did you get there? Why Perry Hall Manor for sewer connection?
Complaints from neighbors to DEPS, Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability, about sewage overflowing, led to DEPS going out in 2018 to check properties and check sewage levels and septic systems. That's where they found that there was 21 properties at that point that had failed. And that was in 2018. And then they checked the soil conditions in the area. They checked the size of lots in the area, and they made a recommendation jointly with DPWT at the time in 2018, this predates me, that this needed to be a project to connect to the sewer system.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Crandall.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Lauren, thanks for the explanation. And I just want to see if I just break this down into what I'm hearing from both the constituents that have testified and based on your testimony. It just appears that when the process started and in 21-22, folks sent a letter saying, I want a connection. There was a note that went along with it. And then because of some of the issues that DPWT discovered when trying to go through the not only the design process and to get a bid, but the just general issues that came up with not being able to find a spot for a pumping station, right? So it seems that the deal and what people signed up for, this is what I'm hearing from them, is, hey, I signed up for this. I do want a connection, even if it's not a health issue. Some people signed up for the connection. But what they were signing up for, because of the challenges that your department faced, now they are told that you're not going to get what you originally signed up for. You're going to get this other thing. And from what I'm hearing is they just want if it's not a health connection, what I'm hearing is they just want the opportunity to opt out. And if it's a matter of other consequences to the language in the bill, I'm sure Councilman Marks would take a look at some of the language that you think is going to cause more serious issues for you and your folks. But I mean, that's kind of what, I mean, am I getting this right? I'm asking my colleagues, is that basically like I signed up for something, things changed. I don't want to sign up for it anymore because it's not what I originally signed up for. So maybe it's a matter of communication. And maybe the reset button needs to be hit here. I know you don't want to hear that. You've been on this, and the neighbors probably don't want to hear that either, but that's kind of where,
kind of where I am on this. I don't know if that's an accurate description of what's going on. I'm just trying to break it down into simple terms that, I can understand.
So some of the challenge with this project is its uniqueness in the 21 health and the rest not. So if it would have been all health, everybody had to be in. We could have started this project and just said, we're just doing it for the health connections, and we're not allowing anybody else to tap in. We, at the time, this predates me, decided there would be an allowance for people to tap in that typically would be a petition project because they're not health related. If they would have been a sole petition project, they would not be eligible for any of this funding. It would have been 100% borne by the homeowner because they're asking to connect and there's not a health reason for them to connect. The reason to combine it here is because of the size of these lots and the condition of the soil. So even if you're not failed right now, at some point septic systems fail. It happens. Everything fails. When that's going to happen, I can't predict. Allowing people to opt back out at this point because I don't have a bid. If you opted out today, if that happened, the system's not going to be designed for you. I can't wait till I have a bid and then let you choose to come back in or not, because the design isn't going to include you. So the way this bill is written, it says I have to wait till I have a contract approved and a bid, and I can't have that. So we didn't require anybody to opt in. We gave them the option to opt in unless they were health. Up until now, it was all optional. But once you're in, I'm designing for you. So you're on the bid documents. So I can't wait the cart before the horse. So we could change it that you have to tell me yes or no now. And if you're out, you're out. You can't come back in at a later date. But if we gave people the option to go out now, they're out. I can't wait till I have a bid.
Councilman Jones. Can you stay? Yeah, do you guys want to, add whatever you're. I tell you the truth, I'm on septic, and I paid a lot of money for it. And I remember when they installed it, they said to me, we could save you a lot of money. You wouldn't need these holding tanks outside in your yard if we give you a grinder pump. But my issue was I didn't want the grinder pump in my house. I wanted gravity to take it out of my house. But when you tell me that the grinder pump is in the yard and you're saying that this is going to cost $100 a year, and I'm thinking for the insurance of not having to pay for a septic system that may fail later on, why would you, forgive me, I'm just wondering, why wouldn't you just pay $100 a year for the insurance of it all, knowing that I don't have to worry about my septic failing? Because if my septic fails, I'm in trouble.
Well, and going through the neighborhood and talking to people, so many people have replaced septic systems. The range of them being good is 20 to 30 years. However, many people have replaced their septics. And I know for one, the man that lives 2 doors down from me, he's never replaced his. He has it every 2 years looked at. There's nothing wrong with his system. Grinder pumps fail every 7 years. Something happens, and then what? That's the whole thing with this being a health and sanitary situation. Grinder pumps are no better as far as the research that our community has done. We developed a community action group, and when you said that's going to be $4,000 for each one to sign up if we get this grinder pump, there's no way. Our costs.
But she's saying $4,000 over a 40-year period of time. That's $100 a year.
Is that what you said? Over a 40-year period of time?
Not all.
Those are, Those are the estimates from when it was a pump station. So we know it's going to be up slightly. I don't have final numbers, which is what we explained in the community meeting.
Right, you said that in the fall 2025 that you put out, you said that grinder pumps have gone up 80% since 2021. And you also said the cost of this project has gone up because of construction costs.
That's what I don't have finalized at this point because we haven't
Okay.
finalized the design.
Okay.
So we're not
it's
building
still-
the pump station. So we take the cost of the pump station out of the project, we add in the cost of the grinder pumps. There's a differential here. So we know it's going to be close. We know it's going to be slightly over the 10 million that we gave out in 2022, but I don't have a final number. So we came out to the community to let them know and communicate. Things are changing. We don't have a final number yet. Because we're
But how can we
getting to
even
that.
consider?
Okay, all right.
And two other things I
This
want to,
this isn't a court case, so
Right.
we just needed to,
but I wanted to show you all, because she keeps saying 21 homes have failed. And
okay, but it's not, this is not a court proceeding.
Okay, it's
This
not,
is-
it's
This
10
is for
homes.
you and Director Buckler and Councilman Marks to work out,
Okay.
okay? We're not here to adjudicate. And if we're not, are we swinging from possibly 4,000 a household to 90,000? There's no possible way, right?
Real quick, I know it's not a court case.
Okay.
The 4,000 is what we would need to pay to the county. The grinder pump needs to be connected from the house to the street. For those that want to opt out, that have perfectly functioning systems, they're going to have to incur the entire cost to do that, which is about 40,000. That 40,000, when for somebody that needs to borrow at 6% over 40 years, gets to 90 and above. So we established a petition, basically just how many people want to sign to opt out, to not have to incur all that cost. We have over 70 signatures, and the petition was nothing more than give us the option to opt out. So the cost that they're giving you is just the tip of the iceberg.
Will someone during this process at this particular time have to pay $40,000?
No.
So we have the assessment form.
Only later on if somebody don't sign up now, right? Like 5 years from now.
If you don't sign up now, if you don't sign up as part of this project and you fail 10 years from now and you need to connect, then you have to pay out of pocket for whatever that connection is. The county doesn't pay for the grinder pump at that point. It may require increased sewer lines between your house to the next connection point.
Got it. But
Yeah.
today, if somebody, we know it's going to be more than 4,000.
It's not
maybe
gonna be
another
40,000.
Maybe another 1,000, but it's not, no one's going to have to pay 40,000.
No, not based on,
The cost of people have to abandon their septic system, fill that in. The grinder pump hooks up to your home's electrical. So now you have to connect to your home's electrical, tie into your electric. Your electric runs it. Not even going to talk about the cost of your electric running it continually every time water goes into it.
And also the cost of water.
Cost of the water, the tree removal, whatever's there in the way, it's huge. It sounds very.
the electrical connections are part
It's
of the
not simple.
county cost.
All right.
It's done as part of the project.
All right.
And at 6.52%, and the cost, over 40 years, it's $116,000 that people will be paying if they finance through the county.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Buckler. Councilman Young, did you?
Question, the 4,000 is going to be more than $4,000, but does that apply to every home, or does that only apply to a certain number of them?
It applies to the homes that are connecting. If you choose not to connect, you still incur a cost, it's the sewer benefit cost. The way that the county code is with the metro system is self-supporting. So if the sewer goes by your house, you pay a benefit charge even if you're not connected to it. The residents in this community have never paid into the metro system because there's no sewer in that community right now.
Okay. Can you, without knowing how much the 4,000 is going to be, can you tell us how many houses will be affected by this potentially if everybody that you need to opted in?
There's 129 houses, properties.
Which would then incur a $4,000, more than that, but originally a $4,000 fee.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Marks.
Ms. Buckler, would you mind working with Liz Irwin, the auditor, on any of this, sharing any information she asks of you?
Sure, of course. I always share information with Liz.
Okay, thank you. Next up, 7125. This is a bill about, I think we had some discussion on it. We're changing, or we're looking at the open space fee in lieu of, sorry. Bill 7125 is about open space fee in lieu. And there's also a resolution 5425 that actually talks about the local open space waiver fees. This came about because one of the new zoning classifications that we came up with last year was mixed use, the MU district. And we found that there were a few others that we didn't have a definitive open space waiver fee for. Is that correct, Mr. Secretary?
Sir, it was the, what you just said, and also the elderly and senior housing, the ESH overlay. We inadvertently put in the eco park, which.
And we're going to amend that out?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any questions or comments about 7125 before we move on? Okay. Next up, we have Bill 7225. This is zoning regulations, restaurants in the Honeygo area, hours of operation. Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. Chris, can you share my presentation? I'm going to be very brief because we have a number of speakers, some local, some who've come thousands of miles from their homes to testify against this bill. Just to reiterate, the Honeygo area is a development district in northeastern Baltimore County established in 1994. The development in the Honeygo area has been impacted by standards that are, in many cases, stricter than elsewhere in Baltimore County. Setbacks are different than elsewhere in Baltimore County. Again, a special development district established in 1994. Next slide. Over the years, community leaders and developers have pushed for modifications to the Honeygo area or areas adjacent to the Honeygo area. For example, in 2021, with community support, the County Council unanimously passed legislation that impacted the area at Honeygo Boulevard and Bel Air Road. Next slide. Bill 7225 establishes hours of operation standards that are consistent throughout the entire Honeygo area. Honeygo area is succeeded because commercial and residential uses are complementary, and Baltimore County has demanded high-quality standards. Thank you.
Any questions for Councilman Marks? Ms. Belcastro, I know we have a lot of speakers, and I know they're anxious to speak, so
Certainly. Our first speaker is Robert Latshaw, who is here in person, followed by Brad Kroner, who is also here in person.
Mr. Latshaw, how are you? Thank you. There you go.
Needs to be on green there, Mr. Boswick.
Yeah, there you go. You're green. You're good to go.
I'm Robert Latshaw. I've been a business person in Baldwin County for half a century. I've probably attended in the neighborhood of 500 county council meetings, so this is nothing new to me. What I'd like to do before I comment on the bill is give you a little bit of history, some of which you may know. There was a time back in the 60s, before some of you were born, when there were zoning issues, one of which sparked the councilmanic courtesy that you're dealing with now. There was a Exxon station diagonally across from Calvert Hall College. Back then, all the county council persons were elected by the entire county. They were not elected by districts. And the councilman for that district, the Towson district, voted against the particular zoning change, but was overridden by the rest of the council for the good of the county. Now you guys, you're all guys this time, are in a very difficult situation. Councilmanic courtesy. Sometimes Councilman A may not agree with what Councilman B is doing or think it's bad for the county, but I better support Councilman A because I may need his help on another issue. It's a tough position for you all to be in. I understand that. This bill has to do with changing the hours of a restaurant, a nationally known restaurant called Denny's. Denny's family restaurants are all over the country. Councilman Marks said that it was consistent that the hours of operation were limited to 10 p.m. in the entire district. If that is correct, I'm not sure why the bill is in. Nonetheless, the property was approved for development. People bought the property to be used as it was zoned and then approved. The county should not, they can, but the county should not take a property owner and say, we know you just bought that property, but we're going to change what you can do with it. One of the famous stories in this county is when the Chestnut Ridge Golf Course closed up. And Armando Signorelli bought, was it 400 acres, zoned a certain way where they maybe could have built 110 houses with 3 acres per house, 2 or 3 acres per house. The council person at that time changed the zoning after he spent in the neighborhood of $7 million. Then it came to a compromise where the council person said, well, instead of 110, let's do 70 houses. You know, with $7 million purchase price, that's pretty heavy. The day before the CZMP was final, that council person called the owner and said, we can't give you 70. I've talked to a bunch of people. I can only give you 40. We've gone from 110 down to 40. That's what Baltimore County did to that property owner. And we can't keep doing that. Maybe you don't want to do it to the councilman for this district, but somewhere it's got to stop. And we've got to do what's good for the county, not just for your fellow council person. Thank you. Any questions? No.
Thank you, Mr. Latchell. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Brad Croner, who is here in person, followed by Ronald Sheftel, who is also here in person.
Good afternoon, Chairman Ertel and council members. Brad Croner, Deputy Director of Government Affairs for the Administration, 6th District resident in Putty Hill. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on Bill 7225, following the letter that I sent earlier today. As drafted and as discussed, Bill 7225 would limit the operating hours of a standard restaurant to between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. if located in the eastern or western sub-areas of the Honeygo area and within 200 feet of residential building. While regulation of businesses can be beneficial if there is a nexus to protecting public safety or public health and welfare, it is unclear that a standard restaurant would threaten either. In full transparency, it is our understanding that this bill is intended to restrict the hours of a proposed Denny's restaurant at the Shops at Perry Hall, a mixed-use development at the intersection of Bel Air Road and Honeygo Boulevard. It is also our understanding that this Denny's is under lease with the property owner who has a vested development plan. Additionally, I will note that the site of the proposed Denny's is adjacent to a development that includes a 24/7 Wawa, which serves food 24/7. While we recognize the concerns from the community, we also recognize that it is unfair that a business can invest in this county, proceed through the development process, and do everything by the book, only for the rules to change when they are applying for building permits. As the council deliberates on this legislation, please consider the message that this bill sends to the business community, as well as the precedent that it sets. Finally, I will note that this bill would likely be challenged as special legislation, which is, as you know, illegal under the Maryland Constitution. It appears from the current wording of the legislation and from discussion on the public record that it applies only to a certain property and business, which significantly risks a legal challenge being brought against the county. Moreover, should the county face legal action, there would likely be protracted litigation resulting in significant costs and resources to defend the county. For these reasons, we have deep concerns with Bill 7225. Thank you for your time, and I can take any questions.
Yeah, Councilman Marks. Councilman.
Mr. Croner, the council a few weeks ago approved tax benefits for security and Metro Center. Those weren't special bills?
No, sir. There's a nexus to a public benefit, and they also apply to multiple zones, multiple properties. This bill applies to, and it is intended to affect a single property, as I understand it, whereas those bills did not. And those bills also created benefits for the general county.
You're wrong. It doesn't just apply to one property. It applies to an entire development district.
I think the public record has indicated that this is intended for a single business, but I'll abstain further from talking about the legalities here.
So the point is that bills receive unanimous support on this council that benefit you, but you're contending a bill that impacts many is improper.
I don't think I follow.
This bill affects a large development district. Honeygo, a large development district.
Sure.
Okay. That's all.
I think what I would just say is there's a distinction between creating new opportunities for businesses in an entire corridor or an entire region and moving the goalposts for a single business looking to come to this county and create jobs.
But doesn't the county move the goalposts or play favorites when it gives out tax benefits to developers?
I wouldn't say so, no.
You really don't think so?
No, sir.
Okay.
Councilman Jones.
I guess I have a question for Councilman Marks. I'm looking at some of the pictures here. Is there any compromise available? I mean, could there be some evergreens planted between the parking lot of the new restaurant and the community? Could there be a privacy fence put up? Could there be a freaking sound barrier? I mean, is there something we can do other than say no to the 24-hour restaurant? I'm just asking a question. Has that been explored?
Thank you for that comment. Well, since the bill is not a special bill and since it applies to multiple properties throughout an entire development district, not just at this corner, I think we'd have to look holistically at the entire Honeygo area, right? I'm just going to repeat that. Since this is not a special bill and it applies to the entire Honeygo development district, we'd have to look at the entire Honeygo area. However, I'm always open to conversations with any developer who's and the neighborhoods in an area that I represent. Yeah.
Councilman Mark, and you're aware that there are other restaurants that stay open past 10 o'clock in the Honeygo?
Which would be affected.
And again, do they know this?
Yes, they do. I mean, one possible amendment is to say that a liquor serving establishment would be exempt because the liquor board does have the ability to penalize them. The liquor board has greater regulatory authority than other restaurants.
Okay. And we're
and we're worried that a Denny's is going to be similar to a bar?
Again, it's not the Denny's, just the Denny's, it's other restaurants.
All right, Ms. Belkash, your next speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cronin.
Our next speaker is Ronald Sheftel, followed by Paul Mazza, who is also here in person.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is Ron Sheftel, and I'm here to testify against Bill 7225. My company, the Southern Land Company, owns the shops at Perry Hall, which is the target of this bill. I testified at the first work session, so rather than restating points previously made, I will provide you with some additional history. After we purchased this property in January of 2004, we donated over an acre of our land that bisects the property so Baltimore County could extend Honeygo Boulevard to Bel Air Road. We also contributed $200,000 for a regional stormwater management pond. At the very beginning, we asked Councilman Marks if we could build a residential project on the entire property. And even though it was supported by Andrea Van Arsdale at the Office of Planning, he told us this property is the gateway to Perry Hall and it should be commercial. Ironically, after being told no residential, we now face legislation from Councilman Marks trying to restrict our commercial use because a handful of nearby neighbors decided they don't want a 24-hour Denny's. I want you to know that for years, we tried to find commercial tenants for this property. We first tried to land an anchor tenant like Walmart, Kohl's, Target, and several grocery stores. They were not interested, so we pivoted and subdivided the property into smaller parcels to accommodate a 24-hour Wawa, Valvoline, car wash, and 2 restaurant pads. Let me be very clear. The commercial came first. It was not until 3 years later that we added the 45 age-restricted residents who are now the ones fighting against this Denny's restaurant. Councilman Marks is asking everyone to imagine they purchased a home only to later find out that there would be a restaurant 200 feet away. But here, that is clearly not the case. These folks purchased their homes right next to a car wash, a Valvoline, and a 24-hour Wawa and 2 restaurant pads. There were no surprises here. Unlike someone that purchases a home in a purely residential community only to find that a residence is suddenly changing to a commercial use. Wawa is already here, and it's a 24-hour operation. As a matter of fact, Councilman Marks could not wait for Wawa to open and even attended their grand opening ceremony. I want to explain why this is so unfair to us as owners and investors in the site. After finally finding a willing restaurant tenant and signing a 20-year lease with Denny's, and having already completed construction of the underground water and sewer lines, connections, curb and gutters, stormwater management, storm drain, everything necessary to serve the Denny's. We have spent millions of dollars on this project. The project currently generates about $400,000 in annual real estate taxes for Baltimore County. Prior to this legislation being introduced, we attended meetings with the neighbors and were willing to work with them on installing security cameras, parking, traffic controls, plus privacy fencing. But instead of allowing us to continue to work with the community, Councilman Marks introduced this bill to try to kill the 24-hour Denny's. We urge the council not to pass this bill. It is a dangerous precedent to tell people who have invested millions of dollars that the rules can change on them so late in the game. please allow us to fill our restaurant pad with the Denny's, America's 24-hour diner since 1953. Please vote against 7225. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. Questions?
Councilman Paducah.
Thank you, Mr. Shaftel.
Yes.
Question, is your agreement with Denny's, I don't know if ironclad's the right word in the industry, but if this bill were to not pass, would it be, how sure are you that Denny's would proceed?
If this bill passes and they can't open and operate for 24 hours, we have entered into a 20-year land lease with 4 or 5-year options, and I can promise you that there would be litigation between Denny's and us, and then we would end up dragging the county into it.
And so what about the converse of that? Like, you have your agreement signed for 20 years, it's ready to go with the exception of this legislation.
Oh, without this, if there wasn't this legislation, you know, the Denny's, they would start construction very, very shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Anybody else?
Councilman Jones, did you?
No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Just ask, we have Tony Acquias here. He didn't sign up. Since Mr. Shaftel went a minute and a half beyond, can he speak at the end?
sure.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair. I was looking at some of the pictures and I've looked at the aerial view, and I was wondering, was there any conversation with the residents that would maybe make them feel a little better? For example, I'm looking at, first of all, one of the things I looked at was a car wash. It looks like maybe there was an entrance to the car wash next to a home that I guess somebody changed their mind because they put some marks in between the road to stop a car from coming through. But as it relates to the Denny's or the restaurant pad, from what I can see on the schematic that I'm looking at, there appears to be at least, 50, 60 feet of a parking lot, maybe more.
Every bit of it, yeah.
So I guess my question is, have there been any discussion about maybe putting some evergreens on the back of the parking lot that was shielded, or maybe a privacy fence, or have anybody spoken to you about some of these options?
Yeah, we were heading down that road. We had a meeting with the councilman and myself and my business partner and several of the community members. And I walked the whole development with the president of the community association, and we talked about putting up a fence. We talked about putting bollards up at the end of a road so that traffic couldn't go through the residential neighborhood. We talked about these things, and then out of left field, Councilman Marks decided, you know what? We were in the middle of the negotiations with these folks, and then Councilman Marks introduced this legislation just to blow this Denny's out of the water. And so here we are.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, I acted with the support of my community, which have concerns. I'll also note that there is a non-24-hour business like that in Edgewood.
Next speaker, Ms. Bocas. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Our next speaker is Paul Mazza, followed by Sue Sachs, who is on virtually.
Mr. Mazza, how are you? Good.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is Paul Mazza. I'm the president of Rommel Companies, the operator of the Denny's restaurant that is subject to this bill. I am speaking in strong opposition to the bill. I have worked for Rommel Companies for 20 years. We operate 9 other Denny's restaurants across Maryland, from Anne Arundel County to Ocean City. Our company has 40 years of experience working with Denny's. We first started working with them in 1985. We're not rookies with the Denny's concept and their 24-hour model. We're experienced operators. We want you all to know and understand that we have spent tens of thousands of dollars in reliance on the approved development plan for this property that does not limit the hours that our restaurant could be open. We paid for design, engineering, architecture, and plan to start construction of the building as soon as possible. This legislation has brought this project to a screeching halt. We also want you to know that as experienced Denny's operators, we are very much in tune with our nighttime services and employ security and other measures as needed to make sure it is a safe and family-friendly atmosphere for our clients. With the 9 stores we currently operate, there's only 1 that requires nighttime security. Denny's is a restaurant that serves families, construction workers, medical workers, police and firemen, and working class people. We are proud of the services we provide and intend to do so at this location. We also want you to know that the amount of people that attend our restaurants during late night are relatively small, averaging 15 to 20 tables per night. After COVID, the bulk of our late night services have shifted to a third-party pickup company like Grubhub or Uber Eats or DoorDash. This has really reduced the number of people that come into the restaurant for late night hours. Denny's is and always has been a 24-hour restaurant. This allows us to serve many of the workers that work night shifts in medical or police or fire positions, and it is a requirement of Denny's corporate. We promise to install security cameras, stay ahead of any issues by employing a late night security officers if needed, and make sure there's no issues at this location. Having spent tens of thousands of dollars and based on our excellent track record of working with Denny's restaurants, we respectively requesting you vote against this legislation that is targeted to kill this specific project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mazza. Any, Councilman Marks, did you have a question?
The Denny's at 1803 Edgewood Road closes at midnight. Why is that?
That's a different franchisee, that's not us. In certain cases, if it's a high crime area, Denny's security would call local law enforcement and they might get a special waiver to close it at night. But per our franchise agreement, we're required to be 24 hours.
Yeah, Mr. Councilman Patoka, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mazza. You said one of the Denny's that you operate has night security?
Yes.
Which one is that?
That's in Glen Burnie.
In Glen Burnie.
Yeah, it's kind of right off the Beltway. It's on the border of Cherry Hill. And we have one off-duty police officer from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. And
How did that come about, that you defined that one? And I promise I won't make, Mr. Chair, make any Glen Burnie.
yeah, you know,
Talk about Glen Burnie.
Okay.
You'd be in trouble again.
you know, that store was open before I joined the company. Back in the day when the bars would empty out at 2 a.m., sometimes we would get a rowdy crowd in there, you know. But again, things have changed dramatically. It seems like they're taking Ubers to the bars, then they're going home, and then they're ordering takeout. and we really don't have the volume that we used to have in the past.
Is that something you would consider for this site? Is having some level of security at night to perhaps?
If needed, you know, we don't open with it, but if all of a sudden we saw there were trouble or our staff felt unsafe, we would hire security for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Mazza,
Sure.
You said with the Denny's, that's their That's their, oh, I turned it off. I had it on, turned it off. You said that the 24 hours is that's standard operating
Yeah,
procedure.
correct.
So you don't think that in the future, if you were to locate here, and let's just say the business volume at night was just not,
It happens. If it was like,
would that possibly
It's
say, well,
possible.
we might close at 11 or
it would have
something
to be a
like-
very low threshold, like under 2% sales, something like that.
Okay.
But it's possible.
Councilman Jones, did you have anything?
I was wondering if you can expand on the, I guess, the customers that come in after, say, 10 o'clock at night. I know you said somewhere around maybe 15 in the night.
15 to 20 tables, I said,
Okay.
customers, yeah.
So,
And
who are
again,
these-
sometimes it's 24-hour workers. It's nurses getting off of work or so truck drivers. We have that crew. It's I think there's a stigma there that it's always the bar crowd, but it's really not true.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Marks, anything else? Okay. All right, Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Our next speaker is Sue Sachs, who is on virtually, followed by Angela Kesnick, who is also on virtually. Ms. Sachs, you may begin your testimony when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I, along with my husband, live on Marketplace Drive in the plaza that we're discussing today. I'm very disappointed to hear about a 24-hour restaurant right outside our home. The 24-hour portion is disturbing to me. We already knew about the 24-hour Wawa prior to buying our new home and accepted any possible risks with that. But now we hear about another 24-hour diner that could bring possibly more risk to our home. We did not know about this in advance. One big concern I have is the real estate property values. I would not have bought in this development hearing that both a 24-hour Wawa and a 24-hour restaurant would be just outside the door of my new home, as I believe this could bring more crime to the area and drop my home property's values. Crime risks in 24-hour restaurants is a very real issue, despite what we're hearing today. I looked at Google AI and found the following. 24-hour restaurants face significant crime risks, particularly violent crimes. The FBI ranks restaurants as the 8th most common setting for violent crime. This is exacerbated by late night operations, which attract criminal activity due to fewer customers and a staff presence. Factors. Urban areas with high foot traffic and easy access are more vulnerable. Operating hours. Late night hours increase the likelihood of crime, as these establishments often have reduced security and fewer employees. Cash handling. Many restaurants still deal with cash transactions, making them attractive targets for robbery. So I go and I do a Google search. A plethora of robberies that can easily be found with different 24-hour diners on the internet. It's just massive amount of things. In fact, just looking, browsing, I found out that the IHOP down there on Bel Air Road, 7900 block, at 12:04 a.m. had a robbery down there. And of course, this was after hours kind of thing. And that's what I find in a lot of these Googling, is that it seems to really be an issue with the 24-hour restaurants. And so that is my discussion for today. And I thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sachs. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Our next speaker is Angela Kisnick, who is on virtually, followed by Brendan Mahoney, who is here in person. Ms. Kisnick, when you're ready, you can begin testimony.
Thank you very much. My name is Angela Kisnick, and I have lived in the Perry Hall area for over 40 years. Recently, I've purchased my home 55 plus community without being any notification of what this 24-hour restaurant would be all about. Most of the majority of the residents are not in favor of a 24-hour sit-down restaurant. Yes, Wawa is open 24 hours. It is a gas station, and you run in, purchase, and you run out. My home is approximately 250 feet from the proposed set diner. It would increase the potential noise, late night crowds, especially after the bars close. It would disturb our sleep, rise in the crime, definitely loitering, as Wawa also has loitering, and increased traffic in our small community of 45 homes. I'm totally for the 24-hour to be, I'm sorry, I am against the 24-hour restaurant to go forward as what I've stated in the past. Thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Kesnick. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker. Brendan Mahoney, I think
Yes.
he's right behind.
Brendan Mahoney, followed by Raymond Maskell, who is on virtually.
He knew he was a speaker before you.
Ready to go. Thank you, Council. Brendan Mahoney, representing the Restaurant Association of Maryland and our members in Baltimore County, and more specifically the Honeygo area. We strongly oppose this legislation. They made it clear to us that this legislation sets a dangerous anti-business precedent. They're fearful, even some members in the broader Baltimore County community outside of the Honeygo area, when they heard about this, let us know that in the future, this will be used as a precedent if a few neighbors complain, instead of going through the proper channels and maybe coming up with a solution that everyone is happy with, that their hours would be restricted next, or potentially liquor license privileges, things of that nature, taken away. It reneges on recently established zoning that was reviewed, publicly vetted, and approved by the council. You know, restaurants in this area and across the county invest a significant amount of time and money based on those approvals, and they like that certainty when they're deciding where to invest. And looking at the region, there's a plethora of different types of businesses that operate 24 hours or beyond the 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. time frame. Different industries. I'm uncertain and unsure why we're unfairly being singled out in comparison to these other industries. In comparison to them, we are overseen by the liquor board in many cases, the health department, so if there's an issue with the dumpster and sanitary conditions, it can be remedied with the county as well as other county code enforcement divisions. And it's for those reasons we would respectfully request that the council reject Bill 72-25.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our next registered speaker was Raymond Maskell. I have been unable to locate him on our list since the beginning of the meeting. I'm assuming he is not here in person either. The next speaker was Josh Sharon, who also registered to be virtual. Mr. Sharon has not been on the meeting since the beginning, and I'm assuming he is not here in person either. So I will move on to Adam Rosenblatt, who is here in person, followed by Danielle Williams, who is on virtually.
Mr. Rosenblatt, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Thank you for your time this afternoon. My name is Adam Rosenblatt, and I'm here to speak in opposition to Bill 7225. I have worked with Councilman Marks for a number of years on a number of projects. I know how he operates and how seriously he takes his role as a Baltimore County councilman. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's introducing this bill believing that he's just trying to respond to concerns of his constituents. It's not often that I'm here testifying against a bill that David Marks puts in. There have been many times where I've worked with him on legislation that's actually helped projects and helped my clients and surrounding communities. But I want to explain why this particular bill, why I think this is a bad idea and should not be passed by the County Council. As others have mentioned, it's not good policy to change the rules on someone who has relied upon legitimate approvals and spent millions of dollars investing in a project. We're just so far along in this process, it creates serious problems if the rules are changed at this late juncture. Property owners and investors need predictability. Otherwise, it's impossible to get people interested in working in Baltimore County or investing financially in projects in Baltimore County. And in terms of impact, and I always try and see the other side of an issue from the point of view of the communities that my clients are trying to work in. In this case, I really don't understand the concern with Denny's. The situation here, as you've heard, is that people admittedly bought their homes next to a car wash, a Valvoline, and a 24-hour Wawa. They knew it. They've admitted it at the meeting today. They knew that a restaurant would be located on this Denny's lot. It was shown on all the approved plans. There was no surprise to that. And we're making this big push in Baltimore County for mixed-use development. Last year, the council adopted a mixed-use overlay district. Tonight, we saw a bill that sounds fantastic that's going to mix industrial and retail uses together. This is one of the early projects that actually pulled off mixed-use development. But with mixed-use development, there has to be an understanding that you're not buying a house in the country surrounded by woods and other homes, especially if you buy a house that is surrounded by existing 24-hour Wawas, a car wash, and a Valvoline. The expectations have to be different for these buyers that came after the commercial uses that already were existing and approved on this site. So even though I'm sure Councilman Marks thinks he is doing the right thing for his community here, it will cause serious negative consequences for the owner and the operator who are here today. It will create a breach of a lease and potentially cause litigation that is totally avoidable. The fact that we have such an experienced Denny's operator, they are not rookies, they have 9 other stores, and a property owner with 30 years of experience in Perry Hall and in Baltimore County should provide comfort that this Denny's will not be a source of problems. I have no doubt that the residents who speak in favor of this bill will be some of the first people that are taking their families or their grandkids to Denny's for breakfast. Please allow us to construct this restaurant that is shown on our approved plans and do not change the rules of the game this late in the process. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenblatt. Councilman Marks.
Thank you for your kind words. I believe we worked on Bill 4621, which was an actual bill that targeted this area, right? That was the bill we worked on.
Is that the bill for
this region?
The residential component in Honeygale? Yes.
Okay. And I think you may hear some of the community members speak to that. I think you slipped up a little bit and said residents who, did you mean residents who support this bill?
Yes, the residents who support this bill.
Because I note that the opponents to this bill, I don't think I've seen one of them that actually lives in this part of Baltimore County.
No, I think
other places.
I think there are owners and operators who have invested millions of dollars and built the very homes that these people live in.
And some live thousands of miles away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Daniel Williams, who is on virtually, followed by Thomas Costello, who is also on virtually. Mr. Williams, you may begin your testimony when you're ready.
Can you hear me okay?
You can.
Great. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dan Williams, president of the Forge Reserve Homeowners Association. I'm speaking on the unanimous direction of 30 households in Forge Reserve, homes with young children within earshot of a 24/7 restaurant Southern Land is falsely claiming that our community desires. The Honeygo community at large does not want 24/7 dining built in Honeygo area in such close proximity to existing homes, and we strongly favor the passing of Bill 7225 to prevent this. We're grateful to our Councilman David Marks for having the courage to represent the will of his constituents, an approach that shouldn't require courage, but is somehow seeming to. On October 14th, some board members raised counterpoints to argue against Bill 7225. I'd like to respond to as many of these counterpoints as time will permit and demonstrate the counterpoint arguments were either misinformed or mistaken incorrect comparisons. A question was posed: is the issue that they're open or the restaurant will make noise? The answer: the issue is permitting them to operate after 10 p.m. through to 5 a.m. This will absolutely cause late night and early morning commotion well above a tolerance for livability in the surrounding area. We have no issue with the restaurant operating between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. The bill presented is intended to prevent operation beyond reasonable hours when in such close proximity to homes with children and working families. Next, a statement was made. There's a lot of older people in that area that don't sleep at night who might want to go eat pancakes at 2 a.m. You know, while this statement was likely hyperbole, most would find a statement like this to be incredulous, and the basis for the statement is easily disproven. How? Where are any of these folks that live within this area? Where were they on October 14th to air such testimony? Those of us who were present and gave testimony on the 14th are the resident and resident representatives of this area, and not one of us said or implied anything to the nature. We are the surrounding residents here today to tell you that no, we insist on having peaceful and quiet living between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. instead of the ability to eat within earshot of our homes between those hours. And I can promise you, none of these families will be the first to come to Denny's to celebrate 24/7 dining within such proximity to our homes. Many of us want to get our children up and off to school the next day instead and head ourselves into work without nights wrought with more disturbances than the Wawa has already brought. For a third party to imply anything outside of our opinion is a false representation, and I've seen nothing to indicate our opinion is in dissent of the residents. Next question was posed: do we have any other examples where we've preemptively done something that is like this to prevent a concern before it's become one? I'll advise you that this bill is not preemptive because our concerns are highly merited and our stems from enlightenment. And so Bill 7225 is preventive and not preemptive, as we've all learned from the Wawa, from the disruption it has brought to the surrounding neighborhoods by being open 24/7, just as a grab and go and not a sit-down style restaurant. The existing disruption this has already caused is a major nuisance that should not be compounded. If you still consider 7225 as preemptive, please advise. Not counting grab-and-go convenience stores, can you cite any other restaurant in Baltimore County that was built after homes were already stood up, moved into, then only later found out by the residents that an unplanned 24/7 restaurant would be stood up within just feet of their homes? I remind you, there is nothing preemptive about Bill 7225. It is strictly preventative, and that should be readily apparent with any reasonable adult. Lastly, I want to leave you with a quick statistic. A social media post was initiated last week in Perry Hall Unleashed that started with, "Why does David Marks hate Denny's?" First of all, I'd like to make everyone acutely aware, Bill 7225 is not about Denny's or any other specific sit-down style restaurant. Denny's is more than welcome in this designated plat, provided they close at 10 p.m. and not reopen until 5 a.m. This is all the Honeygo wants for all of Honeygo. How do I know? This poster received 16 upvotes for asking the question, implying 16 others agreed with him. David Marks replied with, "Do you think it's fair to residents to purchase a home from a builder that never told residents that a 24-hour restaurant would be at their doorsteps? And do you think it's unreasonable that a 24-hour restaurant not be within a certain distance of a home? This is what Councilman Mark's bill accomplishes, and he received 133 upvotes. The sampling shows a favorability margin of 8.3 to 1 for David Mark's actions within Perry Hall. That's an 830% favorability rating of those who understand and appreciate what David Marks is doing compared to those who do not and may also be confused about the bill because they think it's about Denny's. It isn't about Denny's. If you can understand and appreciate these numbers and still not agree to Bill 7225, you are misrepresenting your community. I urge you all to align your vote with those who elected you and vote yes to Bill 7225. I'll take questions. Thank you for the extended time.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
My pleasure.
Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro. Costello.
Our next speaker is Thomas Costello. Yes, one moment, Mr. Costello, followed by David Altfield, who is on virtually. You may begin your testimony when you're ready.
Good evening, council members. My name is Thomas Costello. I served for 10 years as the vice president of Forge Reserve Community, which, as Dan Williams just said, is right around the corner from the proposed 24-hour Denny's. I'm here once again to provide credible testimony in strong support of Bill 7225. You've received our emails and you heard our testimony on the 14th. Wow, there's been a lot of misinformation about this bill, so let me try to clear up the truth here. This bill is not about one neighborhood or one business. It's not about anti-development. It's about protecting the entire Honeygo Overlay District across communities in Perry Hall and White Marsh from 24/7 operations encroaching on residential homes. It ensures that no business can operate around the clock right next to where people live. So here's the facts. I served on the task force. I was in all those meetings. Southern Land initially threatened our community with a draconian plan of apartments and a big box store. Councilman Mark stepped in, brought the community together, and a task force was created with residents from Forge Reserve and the Perry Hall Improvement Association. We weren't against development. We were just wanted it done right. And by the way, Southern Land benefited directly from Bill 4621, which we all agreed with at the time, to allow them to convert a portion of their commercially zoned property adjacent to the Honeygo Overlay District into a 55+ residential development without going through a rezoning process. The result, 55+ gatherings, Audubon, Valvoline, and Wawa, with the remaining pad site planned for a steak and shake. Never, not once, was a 24-hour business discussed. Steak and Shake falls through. Southern Land quietly inks a deal for a 24-hour Denny's, bypassing councilman courtesy and community input. That's not partnership. That's concealment. When questioned, their response was, we couldn't find another tenant. That may be a business problem, but that's not our obligation. Financial convenience cannot outweigh community impact. Mr. Sheftel called Bill 7225 piecemeal zoning after the fact. That's false. This bill exists because of what Southern Land did as a safeguard. To say no to the community in the Honeygo District is ever blindsided again. We've seen the impact of the 24-hour operation at Wawa. Loud cars and loitering, street racing, police calls, trash, and trespassing. Those are not fears, they're facts. Another all-night business will make it intolerable. Let's be clear, this isn't about Denny's. It's about trust, accountability, and respect for process. Imagine buying a home in a 55+ community, then waking up to a 24-hour diner outside your window. That's the reality. Mr. Sheftel lives in Aspen, Colorado. Mr. David Alfeld, the other Southern Land owner, lives in beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii. Mr. Latshaw, who we heard from earlier, lives in Timonium. But for us, this is our home, and it's as personal as it gets. So let's cut through the noise. Southern Land failed to secure Steak and Shake, then quietly pushed through a 24-hour operation no one knew about nor agreed to, and is now playing the victim. Promises made, promises broken. Mr. Sheftel and Mr. Alfield, we remain open to collaboration on future tenants. But make no mistake, your mafia-style bullying tactics won't work. We'll use every lawful tool at our disposal to protect our community from another 24-hour business on those parcels. Council members, please see what's really happening here and please do what's right. Support Bill 7225. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Our next registered speaker is Mr. Altfeld. I have two people who are online with just the name David. I want to reiterate to people who register to speak and get on the meetings to please put your last name in, because now I'm not sure which David is Mr. Altfeld. So bear with me for one moment and see if I can figure this out. Mr. Altfeld?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me
I
now?
can. I picked the right David. Whenever you're ready to begin.
Good job. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and council members. Again, my name is David Altfeld, and by way of introduction, I'm the past president of the Baltimore County Home Builders Association, and I'm co-owner of the shops at Perry Hall, where the proposed Denny's is located. I'm strongly opposed to David Marks's unfair and seemingly unlawful Bill 7225. Councilman Marks is trying to pass a very specifically pointed and targeted piece of special legislation after Baltimore County has already issued an approved development plan and substantial construction has already occurred, qualifying it as a Baltimore County vested plan. Every single person that's testified in favor of the bill mentioned Denny's. There's no doubt this bill is targeted to one property and trying to kill one project. My company and Denny's relied on our long-standing approvals, and we have made substantial investments because of it. This bill would take away what Baltimore County has already approved. By doing so, Councilman Marks is saying that an approved and vested plan in Baltimore County is not an approved and vested plan and cannot be relied upon and can be subject to new laws that will prevent what was once approved not to be approved. This is a dangerous precedent for people looking to invest in Baltimore County. We were hoping that you will seriously consider this issue and not simply provide councilmanic courtesy for legislation that is bad for business for all of Baltimore County. If this bill passes, there's not a single bank in America that will lend money for a development project in Baltimore County if an already approved invested plan can be altered or withdrawn. There would be no trust in an approved plan and no trust in government permitting. And Baltimore County would not only lose huge and much needed revenue like this project alone, paying over $400,000 in annual property taxes, but it would also deplete the county's valuable resources, having to defend unnecessary lawsuits brought forth for courts to decide if plans are truly approved and vested. This issue is simple. Does this county want to uphold the trustfulness and reliability of an approved plan, or create a precedent that undermines and defeats the very essence of what an approved and vested plan stands for? Council members, please do not vote for this destructive precedent in Baltimore County. Please vote to protect the sanctity of an approved and vested plan and vote against Bill 7225. Thank you for your time.
Councilman Jones.
Yes, Mr. Altfeld.
Yes.
You said that, I'm trying to understand, the empty lot that is there now, when you said the property will pay $400,000 in revenue, is that completed, projected, or is that what it is today?
So it's one big development plan. If you can picture one 12-acre divided into different parcels. The two parcels out front on Bel Air Road are restaurant parcels. Then moving to the north, the Wawa, the 24-hour Wawa's there. Moving to the east is the existing Valvoline, then car wash. And in the corner and back, on 4 acres on that same plot of land, are the 45 active adult 55 and over homes. So it's this mixed use development that's shared alike among residential and commercial uses.
Okay, so,
The 400,000 that I mentioned is the collective property taxes of all the different parcels.
okay, and once you make this improvement, will that number go up?
I think we included both restaurants as, we on the new valuation, based on their new valuation. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Councilman Marks, sorry.
Mr. Altfeld, you talk about changing the rules. Did you not seek to change the rules when you pushed for Bill 4621?
Well, it's a good question. We asked for really relief from you particularly because we couldn't find a tenant for the back 4 acres for commercial use. So that's when you set up a task force with 5 neighborhood associations and shot down our proposal. And we ended up with 55 and over, not to burden, to keep the traffic down and not to burden the school system.
55 and over community, do you feel any sympathy for the people who've testified here over the past 2 meetings? I mean, even an iota of sympathy for what they're saying?
I feel like we were backstabbed, truthfully. They feel backstabbed by us, but we already had an approved plan. So we didn't have to go to the community. We weren't thinking to go to the community. It's not like a community input meeting where we're making a proposal to do something. It was already approved for a restaurant. There was nothing in the legislation. There's nothing in the permits that said, you've got to go back to the community, like Mr. Costello is accusing us of being mafioso. That's not the case. We got our approvals. So we got a restaurant. The first tenant, Steak and Shake, they fell through. They didn't have the financing. We had to go back out to the market and find someone that did. And we did. In terms of empathy, I feel like I'm a highly empathetic person. I feel like if they bought knowing that the Wawa's is there with 80,000 people coming in a month versus a Denny's with a much lesser use, it wasn't on my radar. I didn't think we were screwing them over. I thought it was a mixed use plan. I saw it what it was. It's a fair question you asked. Again, I feel like I'm an empathetic person, but I did not see this coming. I too was blindsided. But we have our approvals to do this, and you're taking our approvals away, sir.
Mr. Altfeld, I actually think you've done a lot of good work in Perry Hall, and I want to thank you for the work, the outreach you have done with other developments. I just think on this one, I wish you would be a little more sympathetic to homeowners who anywhere in the Honeygo area move into a place and then a 24-hour restaurant is proposed within steps of their doors. Again, thank you for the work you've done elsewhere in Perry Hall, and we'll keep talking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Altfeld. Next speaker, Ms. Belkacem.
Our next speaker is Jason Walsh, who is on virtually, followed by Antonio Akia, who is here in person. Mr. Walsh, you may begin your testimony when you're ready.
Yes, good evening, Councilman and Chair. My name is Jason Walsh. I'm a resident of Forge Reserve right down the street from this property. I was the president at the time that this property was built of the HOA. And in addition, I've met with David, with Ron, with Councilman Marks, the entire Southern Lands team, which I guess is really David and Ron, and their legal team. We talked about 4621, and Mr. Marks and Mr. Jones brought up a good question. Weren't they given that special treatment in 4621? So I went back, because the internet lives forever. I went back to 4621, and I wanted to see who voted for that. Mr. Patoka, did he leave?
He had to leave.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was an option. Mr. Jones, do you know how you voted on 4621?
3 hours.
I've been here 3 hours. Do you know how 4621, Mr. Jones, how you voted?
Go ahead. I'm trying to listen. Go ahead. I can't recall.
Well, you voted in favor of 4621. Mr. Marks, do you know how you voted on 4621? Your bill. It was your bill.
Yeah, in favor.
And Mr. Crandall, do you know how you voted on 4621?
I imagine, it's been a while, I imagine that I did.
That's right. Everyone voted for 4621, which was special, which you're calling spot treatment, spot legislation for Southern land to benefit Southern land to even build anything on that property. Because if had they gone to zoning, they wouldn't have what they have today. They threatened us with 150 unit development, which was never going to get passed. We knew that. We're not stupid. The 45 units they have is actually only there because they crammed so many townhomes in, and they got that legislation to do it because they work with the community. And now they're coming to you and asking for Denny's. We're not against Denny's. Let the record show I'm a fat dude. I love Denny's. I have an AARP card, and I get 15% off at Denny's, which is even better for a fat dude. We're not going to not go to Denny's, but we don't want to go there at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And we don't want people going there at 3 a.m. drunk. We don't want people littering. We don't want people cutting through our yards in our neighborhood at that hour of day. We already have it with Wawa. It's not a great situation, but I do feel like Wawa, you go in and you leave. With Denny's, it's more of a social place. You go in, you talk, you come out of the building, you smoke, you talk to your buddies. It's steps away from the homes that are right next door. And the testimony has been that everyone is against Denny's. It's just not true. Everyone's against 24/7 operation of standard restaurants. As Mr. Mark said, liquor restaurants they're guarded by the liquor license. They're guarded by the liquor board. They've got some oversight. We don't have oversight in this situation, or the Honeygo area doesn't have oversight into standard restaurants that could potentially be a problem in 24-hour operation.
Mr. Walsh. Mr.
Yes.
Walsh, listen, you asked me a question. I feel compelled to ask you a question. I'm just curious, what exactly is the harm that you think will come upon you and your community by a Denny's that will be open that's sitting beside a Wawa?
It's the added noise and volume of people that will be going into that area.
So
already there's a lot of noise and volume coming from Wawa. So adding more noise and volume to it is only going to exacerbate it. The people that bought those homes bought it thinking it was going to be a steak and shake. So obviously they're buying in residential property in a commercial lot. So they know that anything could go there in theory. The restaurant that they were told that was going to go there was a steak and shake and possibly a standard sit-down restaurant with standard hours.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Let me say one thing. I know a little bit about this, right? So number one, most people would rather see a Denny's than a steak and shake or McDonald's, or those are the smaller, they're restaurants, but they're really fast food. A Denny's is sort of in between in terms of people going to come in, sit down and eat and be there. The amount of traffic that I believe a Denny's would generate beside a Wawa would be not even noticeable. So,
and Mr. Jones, respectfully, we're not against Denny's, and everyone keeps bringing the word Denny's up. We don't care if it's a Denny's or an IHOP or any other restaurant. We just don't want the 24-hour aspect. We've got one already. If firefighters or first responders, God bless them, want something to eat, they can go to Wawa. They can go to 7-Eleven. They can go to Royal Farm. There's other places where they have options. We're not against Denny's operating there, but just do it during standard hours so we don't exacerbate the number of 24/7 operations in that corner.
Then let me say one more statement, then I'm going to let you go. I believe when we talk about your property value, I believe your property value is better off with a completed project versus a big empty lot. Empty lots, for the most part, especially after some period of time, sort of indicates, sort of like, some people believe that it indicates decay. Like, how come you can't fill that spot? How come there's an empty lot sitting there?
And I agree with you, but I also think that maybe Southern Land hasn't tried very hard, because that lot was empty for the 10 years before they built, when I was here, the 10 years before they built anything. And they actually got an ag tax, and we're paying almost zero taxes to the county because they put some trees on it and they got an ag tax. And now they're saying that they're paying $425. They're not paying a cent. It's the homeowners are paying the tax, not Southern.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Walsh.
You're welcome.
Bill Castro, I think we have one more speaker.
Yes, Mr. Akia, who is here in person.
Good evening, council. Good evening, Chairman Ertel, Mr. Marks, Mr. Crandall. I remember last time I came to testify, you had mentioned you'd recognize my brother's name, and I actually asked one of my old wrestlers, Pat Curtin, whether or not he recognized you or not. He did. Assistant coach at Calvert Hall at the time we were there, so I place you. I appreciate that. It made me feel really good that you recognized my brother. Thank you, sir. But I'm Tony Acquia. I'm resident of Forge Reserve. I'm a past president. By day, I'm a consumer bankruptcy attorney. By night, I'm a neighborhood rights fighter. So my group, my HOA, has been involved with many issues regarding the neighborhood, from closing Forge Road to Bright View Living Center coming to the neighborhood, to BG&E trying to expand Southern Land's plot. And we had another developer too that we discussed, but what I wanted to mention was that throughout all those negotiations, there was always a good faith dealing, transparency, a consensus, a negotiation, a meeting of the minds always occurred with those situations. I wasn't privy to the meetings between Southern Land and the neighbors regarding the possible placement of a 24-hour restaurant here at the lot, but I understand that there was a meeting, there was some discussion. And then, from what I understand, the residents didn't hear anything else back, except that there was a lease signed with a 24-hour restaurateur at the site. And that kind of shocked everyone, because everyone thought there was going to be continuing discussion and negotiation, but there wasn't. Southern Land pulled the trigger and now wants to hold a gun to these people's heads and take it or leave it kind of attitude. I find it disingenuous. I find it bad faith, to be honest with you. If we're to converse and discuss these things, why was it done in such a way to us now we have no choice, it's forced in our hand, you can't pass the law kind of idea. As far as what Mr. Schechtel had commented before at the last hearing, he wasn't under oath, but he alleged that he was going to be in breach of contract, or Southern Land was going to be in breach of contract because the law changed and now they can't fulfill the contract. I mean, I'd like to see the contract. I mean, I've been reading these contracts for over 20 years. They usually contain force majeure provisions, a liquidated damages provision, something that would show, hey, okay, he's right, there is going to be a breach. But I mean, a change in a statute that makes the contract impossible to perform, that's usually grounds for both parties to be able to exit the contract, or any sort of breach. But this hard-hammered tactic of beating on the council, saying, if you don't do this, we're going to sue you. I mean, come on. It's like, constitutionally, you got to show that it's a special law that basically favors one member of a class better than the entire class. They want to know, why are we coming here fighting against a 24-hour restaurant? Why? Because this is the first time it's come up in Honeygo. No one's ever wanted to put a 24-hour restaurant in Honeygo. And the residents where I live don't like it. If you put the restaurant, say, at Cross and Chapel, or at some other intersection with houses similarly situated, we would fight that too, because it doesn't belong in Honeygo. It belongs in a commercially centralized location. And that's not happening. So those items, I think, are noteworthy, because I can't verify what the commentary was. It wasn't under oath. And to be honest with you, I haven't seen the contract. But then it gets to another point. It's like, first thing I learned about real property and real property law, well, actually, when I was probably a kid, there's three most important things in property is what? Everybody knows: location, location, location. Location dictates what you can put there. Location dictates who will buy there, okay? Even Mr. Schechtel's comments were that he had hired 2 marketing firms to do a marketing analysis of the site. And the constant theme was there's not enough rooftops in the area to support a big box store, to support X, to support Y. Well, guess what? Maybe there's just not enough rooftops to support a type of restaurant we want there. And that's the reason why you can't get a tenant, not because of the statute, not because of zoning, but because of the location. So now me as a resident, can we talk about, well, we got millions of dollars invested. Well, what about all the millions that the residents have invested, that bought homes based upon a promise, based upon a plan, and now we're going to change it, and now we're going to stick a 24-hour joint down your throat? What about those people's money? Is their money more important than my neighbor's money? I mean, I find that mind-blowing. It's like now, because of an unwise real estate investment choice, me as a resident have to bail out Southern Land because they can't find a tenant? It just blows my mind. How is the onus on me as the purchaser of property to now go ahead and bail out Southern Land? I mean, I thought the times of Main Street bailing out Wall Street were over, but here it is again. And I don't know why I'm being called upon to bail out Southern Land with a property that obviously 2 marketing companies have told them is hard to market. So you're probably going to have a tough time finding a tenant. That's business. I should have to bail you out, Southern Land. So, and just a couple other points and I'll close. I know I'm over the time and I appreciate you being given the.
He's at 6 minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, is there any way you can wrap this up?
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up right now.
Actually, it's 3.
You were speaking last week.
Right. And so anyway, just in closing, I'd like to say, take in concert everyone's comments and thoughts today. And let's think about the people who invested money to raise families. And let's put their priorities first. Okay, that's the community that they're raising their kids in. The time to bail out Wall Street's over. So I'd ask the county council, please do the right thing and, protect your constituents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Is that all the speakers we have?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I did not find, I usually comb the list prior to the start of the meeting, and those 2 gentlemen that I called have not been on the meeting the entire time, so.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps it for, oh, we have one more. That's right.
Yes.
HUD.
Okay, I'm going to be very brief here.
It's, Councilman Jones, let me get there because I forgot. Resolution 5125. 5125, approve review of a plan unit development at Red Run Meadows.
Right, I'm going to get there myself because my computer got tired and went to sleep. But that said, let me go off of memory. This is this is like 26 or 13 acres, 126 homes. The property's been vacant forever, and I think it's going to provide much needed housing. The 126 homes in this is being put forth by the PUD. The density is a lot less than it could be. So we have a number of open space, little parks built in throughout, additional parking. That said, we're still in negotiations, or I guess, trying to come up with the community benefit, which I hope to have done by the end of this week, and I will share it with all the council members. There is a case to be made for the community benefit in terms of the lack of density, some of the other architectural items, the silver lead, energy savings. There are a number of additional things, but I'm going to focus on another community benefit that will benefit one or two of the, I don't want to say right now, but one or two of the organizations in the community. I'll put it like that. That's all I have, unless there's some questions.
Any questions for Councilman Jones? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I think we are adjourned for the evening.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you for everyone. Yes,
Let me get one fast. I just want to thank everybody who testified. I really, really do. This is what democracy looks like, and we appreciate everybody coming out, making their voices heard. And it's been long, but listen, you're entitled to come here and petition your government and let us know how you feel, and it's incumbent upon us to be here to listen to you. So thank you.
thank you, Councilman Jones.
You're welcome.
That was a good,
Agreed, and
good cap.
agreed, and thank you to the four of you for sticking to the end.
Yep. Well,
Thank you.
believe me,